you can piss off a lot of them and still have plenty to cater to.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, let's see if this works. Everyone, welcome back potentially. Potential welcome back. I really want it to go live because a lot of people on Instagram are going to be watching on YouTube. But I don't know why YouTube would have a problem. So let's see if we get some heads watching. See if I can look it up on my phone. Yeah, but I mean, there we go. So now I have to fucking delete the channel every time I want to broadcast. So now I have to fucking delete YouTube. I have my restreaming app. So I'll delete the channel and then redo it and it'll work. Whatever. Just add that to the list of things I have to fucking remember.
Is that TubeBuddy?
No, this is Restream. So the way I stream is I stream to one place, and then it's a program, or it's an online app that splits it to so I could stream in 20 places at once, but I'm only
Very cool.
sending it to one spot. So it's like going live, and then, but I can use Macs and stuff. So if you want to record videos and and do any kind of streams and live, there's a great app. Ecamm Live is fantastic. Write it down.
Right.
Yeah. It's designed for, I was using OBS for a while, but it's not designed optimally for Mac. And it's really for really detailed streaming. You know, if you're gamer, hardcore, doing a lot of crazy shit, but this integrates completely with Skype. So it's like a perfect integration. And it's optimized for Mac. So it doesn't the fans don't turn on, doesn't make as much noise. It's not working as hard. It's not taking up as much memory and shit. So, all right, YouTube, what's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? We got special guest today. Special guest. Yes. And we're going to intro it, and then I'll let you know when we are live. Let's get this fucking party started. 3, 2, 1. Beach.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testing, 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 test, 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 testing, 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 testicles, big hairy ball sack. Welcome everyone to episode 1169, quite appropriately so, of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular swolecast, beercast, broadcast, gamecast, mancast, pimpcast, sleevescast, and slaycast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. What's up, beaches, busters, hustlers, and hoes? We are live on Facebook, not Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch, everywhere at Swolenormous. You can bang your ear holes. Also on Apple Podcasts, Google, fucking anywhere you listen to your podcast. So everyone is here. And if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you drop in the comments, because I don't see the Facebook chats. I had the Facebook before, and now I didn't have Instagram, but now I have YouTube, and I don't have Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you drop a comment. But we are here. And we're live, and I hope you're watching on Facebook too. So anyway, drop in the comments below and say what's up to our guest today. So today is episode 1169, and I'm here with Casey Cochran of Fit Food Fresh. So we're talking meal plans. I was on Instagram earlier, and I told you that we were going to break down really why your meal plan sucks, why meal plans are not more expensive, is how you think about it. And it's really about time, saving time, but also eating quality food. So I wanted him to tell the story. I want him to kind of intro all of you into why he started, why this was important, why this was a white space in the industry that kind of seemingly on the surface has so much nutrition, has so much training, has so much information, kind of similar to what I did. I mean, the fitness industry from the outside looks like it's fucking saturated. However, once you dig in, you realize, oh, it's saturated with lots of fucking bullshit. So without further ado, let's bring in Casey and let him introduce himself. So Casey, thank you for being here, my brother.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm happy to be back. This is cool. It's always cool to be here 100% of the time. So far, it's been cool to be here.
So far it's been cool, but it might start sucking really soon, but I'll try to do my best. So let everyone know, tell everyone, I guess, why you got started, what your business is, all those things. And I'll just make sure on this end while you're doing that everything is streaming properly. So the floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, One thing we always tell people is we started off by basically being on meal plans ourselves. We were paying other people. I'm not a chef. I'm not a trainer. I'm not a nutritionist. When we started this, I didn't know what gluten was. I don't remember how I pronounced quinoa, but I guarantee it was very wrong. Getting a little bit of feedback. But so we were on meal plans ourselves, and we understood that there was a value in someone else doing the cooking, so you didn't have to waste time hunting food down every day. And we were dependent upon them. We just couldn't find anybody who was treating us the right way. So out of frustration, we decided how hard would it be if we got 10 of our friends together and we had like a caterer do some food. And we wanted to do this as a side project. It just got bigger and bigger. We wanted to be able to control the menu, control the bandwidth of the caterer's creativity, and we had to get deeper and deeper. And fortunately, we were growing with referrals from friends who were just eating at work, and it naturally grew into right now we're in our 6th year of business, something we're very proud of, and equally proud of the fact that we have been Florida's highest rated meal plan company on Yelp for the last 5 years.
Say that again.
Once we got big enough.
Say that again for the jabronis in the back.
The highest rated meal plan on Yelp in the entire state of Florida.
Say it again. Say it again. Repeat
5
it.
years.
One more time. One more time.
You know what Yelp is?
I do. Yes. I actually don't have the app on my phone, but I know it
We're
is.
the highest rated on that.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah,
that's a big differentiator. Because like you said, it's a saturated space. It was saturated when we got into it. There's even more people that are jumping out of the woodwork and doing it now, and everyone's doing it kind of their own different way. There's room, just like you. We were talking before we got on air. You can piss off a ton of people in this world and still have a great audience who loves you because there's just so many people. You stay true to yourself, do something that's consistent and something that you know. Especially if it's something that you resonate with, it's the easiest way to stay true to it. And if it's something that, odds are there's going to be enough people out there who jive with it. So that's what's happened with us. And,
So what you're trying to say is I piss people off?
Yeah.
I don't know. If you're watching and you think if I've ever offended you, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
Part of your charm, man.
So literally it was, and I know you told the story, you know, how you started. You started small. If we can get 10 people, did you go over the reason why you started? Like why you weren't happy with the meal plans? Because you were a customer. This is the kind of story that you say in your videos and you talk about. I don't know if you put this on your website, but that you were a customer before you were, what was it? You were a client before you were, what's your word for that? Like you're a customer before you're an owner, but you were a meal plan consumer.
Yeah. We were a customer before we started this, and we do have something we call the legend on our website, and it kind of breaks that down in a kind of funny way. But that's really what we've used to differentiate ourselves, and what because most of the time when you start a meal plan company, a lot of the companies out there are started by trainers, chefs, or nutritionists. So they have a certain product in mind. We were on the opposite end. We were eating the food. So we saw the problem from the ground level and we're like, all right, the customer service sucks. The food is really boring and repetitive. They're sending me the same stuff. There's billing issues. There's delivery things. Like if the food was delicious, all that other stuff would still outweigh the problems. Like if I ordered one of something, even if it's delicious and I get 3 of it and not the other 2 things I ordered, like the product alone isn't going to make it a successful business for everybody. Some people will tolerate that. Those companies we were on, a lot of them are still in existence. Some of them weren't. Some of them aren't anymore. But like I said, that's what prompted us to start it. It was basically the frustrations that we were experiencing. Really, the customer service was the biggest aspect because some of them had great food, but when they made a mistake, inevitably there was no attempt to try to make you feel better about it. Like the customer service was garbage. At the time, I was running a law network, a nationwide network of attorneys that I created, and it was basically a referral network. But these attorneys, my job was to keep their bar clean. My job was to make sure that all of the customers, all their different clients were getting the documentation, any kind of communication that they needed, make sure that the processing department was doing what they were doing. So everything, it was, if I could keep a nationwide network of attorney clean from bar reputation complaints, I figured I could handle some meal plans. So Steven coaxed me into it. I really didn't want to get into food because food is so, it's so subjective. There's so many different, everybody likes something different.
It's very personal.
It is. And that's what we've realized. And kind of like what we were just saying before, there's enough people out there where, like, if you can't cater to everybody, but even if you find like a little niche, the people who like your flavor of comedy or food, there's enough of them out there.
Yeah. When it comes to like the other meal plans, so their customer service wasn't up to speed. What else did you do, or what else are you doing? Obviously, it's kind of like a rolling or like a moving target always. You're always adjusting, kind of micro adjusting. But obviously, your situation is different than mine because I have a very small team, and you don't have yours not necessarily a massive global corporation, but you have a lot more moving parts. So how do you manage in terms of, how do you manage like your customer satisfaction with the type of, like, what are you doing in terms of growth? What has been your most successful, I guess thought in your brain? Because everyone has their own little mission statement, but what they kind of try to focus on in terms of, like, for me, like we were talking about before the podcast, I treat my content like a media company. I cover a lot of different things, a large breadth of different types of videos. What's your like your vision in terms of how you provide value to your members?
As far as, like, we don't have a specific it's called a motto or mission statement or anything like that. We don't have like a plaque of anything, but it was basically, in what I attribute a lot of our success to is kind of that spite that we had as members. We just wanted to be like, I'm going to treat my members so good, and I'm going to just rub this in your face and show. It's kind of like that. It's that experience as members. We are relentless with our feedback right now. I tell our members, tell Becky in accounting that you enjoy our food. I want to know what we can do better. I want the critiques. Don't tell me that the food's good. That's great. What can I do better? What isn't on the menu? What happened with, making your dog bark at night? Like, I want to know all of that stuff. And it's frustrating, and that's a hard thing for a lot of people to take. I think that's really what it is, though, is putting ourselves in the member's perspective and being willing to hear what they have to say, knowing that that's how we need to steer our ship to an extent.
Yeah, that's how you get better with the critiques. I mean, I try to do the same thing, and I always gravitate. What's hard as a business owner from my own personal experience is you tend to gravitate towards the negative, in the sense that you might have a wonderful day. You might have 1,000 really happy customers, members, but then if you have one who's having an issue or something, or someone that points out something that they're not satisfied with, like, it gets under your skin because you have, a real passion for, for providing the best possible service, and you want there to be no leaks. You don't want there to be any weak links in the chain. But that's going to be inevitable because when you have a company and you're serving a lot of people, but that's where the customer service comes into play, because if you have someone who's not satisfied, then you help them become satisfied. You take care of the issue and you make it right, or you make it better. What else besides that kind of like customer attention, which is pretty much everything, because those are the people, that's your inner circle. What do you do in terms of the food preparation? Because on this podcast and all my content, we are big on food quality. So when someone comes into the realm of Papa Swolio and they want to lose body fat, build muscle, whatever it is, I say, have you tried doing an elimination diet? I am all for calorie counting. I do understand if you're eating steak and potatoes and you're eating 5,000 calories a day, caloric intake matters, but the food quality matters just as much, if not more, because from our standpoint, if you are eating whole foods and eating real food and not sucking down tons of like sugary sodas and stuff, you're going to get full. You're going to be able to manage your caloric intake a lot better. And most people are looking to lose fat and build muscle, but more people are looking to lose than to gain. They want to get rid of the extra shit. They want to be healthier and feel better. So what is it about your preparation? Because it's not just the customer service. if you had the best customer service, but you had a shitty product, you wouldn't be the highest rated on Yelp. So the food has to match. So what is your company's approach to the actual production of the food, and what you do differently than other companies that sets you so far above the fold?
I would say, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. One thing I'll mention is, and again, a lot of this goes. I mean, we still eat our food. If you look at my fridge right now, I've got vodka, I've got some sugar-free Jello that I made the other day, and I've got a bunch of Fit Food Fresh. That's it, and then a bunch of condiments. So we're still clients of this. So eating the food constantly, we've heard of we know a lot. It's a small community. We know a lot of the other meal plan companies. We specifically know some who are big and they don't eat their own food. I understand why, but also that disconnect that they have with the product is they don't care what goes into it. We're still eating the food. My fiance and I are eating the food. My parents are eating the food. Like, all my friends are on the program. So we still have it. I'll hear about it if it's garbage in very like direct ways. So the quality is based on the fact that we want to still be eating that. So it's, the golden rule is how we run this company, I guess. The other thing is the menu itself. We have about 70 items on the menu every week. And within that, spread, we have everything from something that's super, super clean. Our crazy clean menu, I tell people, is the most boring food you will ever eat, but it is like, it's no frills, but it'll be effective. All we do is add heat. That's what I say. It's, grilled protein, steamed veggies, steamed rice, really, really boring, no flavoring or anything. But then on the opposite end of that, we still have quesadillas, we've got brownies, we've got lasagna, like we've got some amazing food. And then there's everything in between, vegan. We try to make it so that you're able to stay consistent. It's got the macros on there. So you can eat the thing with the higher carbs that it keeps you from creating a cheat meal into a complete diversion from the meal plan altogether. And you're able to have 10 items, know what all the macros are, and then you just cheat over here and you save that one for Friday, or you save that for leg day, or whatever it is. And it makes it easier because your success, regardless of what your goals are, losing weight, gaining muscle, it's going to be, or even being successful in life, it's going to be based on your consistency. Success is based on consistency. If you can make consistency easier, then success is going to be easier. So if you got a gym that's at the bottom of your building versus a gym that's a mile away, probably going to hit this gym a little bit more frequently. If I've got Cheetos in my fridge and I've got a healthy meal down the street, at 11 p.m., I'm eating Cheetos, So just by having it there, I tell people we're faster than Jimmy John's because we're already in the fridge before you're hungry. If you have your life set up for the direction, if you just line everything up, it's like setting up your clothes the day before. You're setting yourself up for success. It's going to just make things easier. So considering how impactful food is to all those health goals, your time management, it's something you got to do several times a day, every single day. I don't know about you, but I seem to have to eat every day. So by making something that's so time consuming easier for you to do, and then you do it in a way that it's also more correlative to your health goals, it's a no-brainer.
No, for sure. That's what literally the main message. And whenever I post and I say, okay, what is the number one thing that's going to help you get results? Everyone already knows it's consistency. So if you have the perfect meal plan, the perfect training plan, everything, you're right next to the gym, great. But if you do it every other week or a couple times, you take a few months off, it doesn't matter there is no perfect plan, right? What is it? A decent plan today or a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. So just starting and getting going, there's always going to be roadblocks. There's always going to be things that change, this, that, and the other. When it comes to, you were just talking about the consistency aspect of it. What about those? In addition to that, the food quality. Obviously, you eat your own food, and I've seen that. I've seen you post on Instagram. What about the preparation, aside from just like the crazy clean? What about that? The actual food preparation allows it to be called Fit Food Fresh. We touched upon it a little bit before, but I definitely want everyone to hear this because before we continue, actually, just keep that in mind. I would like everyone that's watching, if you have a question about your meal, about a meal preparation company, I would love for you to submit your questions and I'll put them up on the screen because a lot of you might be thinking about signing up for a meal prep company and something in your area if you're not in South Florida. If you're in South Florida, highly recommend Fit Food Fresh. You can go to their website and we'll break down where they can find you and everything. But if you have a question about what you should be looking for in your meal plan company or in something that's maybe nationwide or in your area, make sure you post that up and we can get his feedback because behind the scenes is where everything goes down. So anyway, I want to talk about your preparation methods, not just the crazy clean, but why it's called Fit Food Fresh.
Okay. So we don't use anything that's frozen. I just posted a video. You mentioned the video where I do I'll probably redo it, but to walk around the kitchen after everything's shut down. I show you, there's no food in the freezers. All the freezers we have there are for ice packs. We don't freeze our food. There's a food distributor down here called Cheney Brothers. We have a contract with them. We're the only ones providing in this area with Cheney Brothers. We're the only ones who are getting Purdue hormone-free chicken. We just source the highest quality ingredients. Not all the produce is going to be organic just because with the price point that we have, but we are able to get a lot of organic, just not 100%. So we don't advertise as organic, but we do source organic if it's within the price point for the meal. We've got wild caught salmon. We'll do pompano, barramundi. We'll do rack of lambs and lamb medallions. It's all over the place. So it's also, we kind of consider ourselves, we have some gourmet stuff as well. So we kind of are on the higher end of the meal plan spectrum, but we cater to the professional. I would say like a lot of our members probably might not even make it into their gym regularly. They might not be the serious athletes that a lot of people associate with a meal plan. These are busy professionals who just value their time and they're trying to be more efficient with their life. And maybe our meal plan is allowing them to hit the gym because they're not shopping, So catering to them and their taste. Again, we're going to be all over the place from kids' food and quesadillas and silly stuff to the more gourmet stuff and the more fancier stuff. But the quality of the ingredients going in there makes it, even when you're eating the quesadilla, you've got the macros, the hormone-free chicken that's going to be in there or the gluten-free wrap that we're going to do it in. You also have the full transparency. That's a big thing. Transparency of, not only a walk around tour of, our place and behind the scenes, making sure it's prepared in a clean facility. You can see our health inspection on Yelp. We've actually been written up twice in a positive way in articles because we stood out as such a high rating for a health inspection within one of them was like 2 cities in our area and the other one I think was like a county. So that's kind of it feels very good, but you don't want to see who else was on those lists and the violations. Very interesting. Transparency is huge. I think that's what a lot of people like. And also the ingredients that go into everything. We'll show you everything on the menu, on the label, all the macros, all that fun stuff.
Especially when you have someone that's literally hands-on with, and like we talked about before, food is so personal. You're doing it multiple times a day. You're doing it every single day. You are what you eat. And in a world where organics and whole foods and all these different, all these, vitamins and supplements and things that are supposed to be promoting health are, on the line, it's like only going to further facilitate your progress by being clean and having people know that your shit is there's no shit in your shit. Yeah. I see a bunch of people commenting about the budget, and this is something that I did want to bring up because, of course, as we've talked about that your company's not necessarily the cheapest, you're the best, which is a huge distinction. And you can, elaborate a little bit more on that. But what about people that maybe are looking for it? Where do you see that the benefit for someone or where do you find the justification for someone who might be, oh, that's a little bit out of my budget? Because I am kind of on the fence with calling it more expensive because first off, people don't realize how much they're fucking wasting on bullshit, on going out to eat or the movies and things that they don't need on Amazon and shit like that, but also the time saving. So What do you say to people that maybe have varying opinions about that, maybe when they're coming to you, when they're curious about your meal plans, or any kind of like, I guess, questions about how this would benefit them aside from just like the time?
Yeah, we do have that is something that we do get kickback on a bit. I think a lot of the problem is people look at individual purchases. So if you're comparing this to going to, Chipotle or something, first of all, in your head, you're thinking you'll have a number like $8 or $10 for Chipotle. When in reality, by the time you're walking out the door, it's like $14 or something. It still feels so much less painful than coming out $150 a week for a meal plan company every single week. And we at least do it weekly. When we started off, they were monthly programs that you had to shell out for. And that was another thing that we were just like, man, this is like more than my car payment. Like, one shops for the month. So we broke it up into weekly payments. But we get people who argue that the things that you have to really take into consideration is the amount of time also that you're saving. The average American spends 9 hours a week buying, preparing, and cleaning up after their meals. And some it's more, depending on what you're doing, where you're getting your meals. That might be like some fast food roped in there, or like meal prepping for 9 hours and shopping on Sunday, and then spreading it out. So it's really, if you look at the fact that you're basically able to get a full workday back into your life every week and just spread out through, middle of the day when you're trying to maybe also run to the bank, or your dinners during the week when you're also trying to make it to the gym or get the kids to karate practice, or, or just read a book, just kick back and read a book, catch up on Netflix, do something like that. Gives you the advantage of that. So if you were to look at, someone making $20 an hour, just 8 hours a week that I'd save you, that's, $160 right there. We're not even talking about the food yet. So that's, if we were to monetize the time that you're saving, it's a lot easier, but people don't think about that. Like I said, they think about Chipotle being, half of what it really is. And they think about that little bite at a time, when in reality, it's also costing them a lot of time. It's costing more than they think. Even people going to, the supermarket and, cooking their own food, you're spending time cooking your food now. You're going out there, and now you're also statistically more likely to pick something up that you probably don't need, maybe a bag of chips. Supermarkets are designed to keep all the stuff you need in the back, and all the other stuff they got to coax you into buying in between. All the sugar, the delicious beer aisle, the milk and the eggs is all behind all that other stuff. So,
and it's not only just that, but whenever I cook, I mean, sometimes I cook too much and stuff goes to waste. So if you say, okay, well, let's say you're only using 90% of what you're cooking and what you're buying, you're throwing away money. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I bought too much fruit because I was thirsty when I went to the supermarket. I'm like, oh, fruit sounds good. And then an hour later after I eat, well, 7 pounds of apples doesn't really sound as good now. Same thing with just vegetables. Broccoli tends to kind of go bad, and you're not wasting anything. It comes in its own container. It comes fresh, and you have it, and then you're done. You just heat it up or eat it cold if you're a psycho like me, or whatever. Like, you just have it ready. So to go from 9 hours, or Crystal says try 4 hours a day. 4 hours, I mean, depends. If you have a family, and let's say also if you have maybe a conflict where your family doesn't want to eat the same way. So instead of cooking your own food and then making separate food and having like a whole disaster in the kitchen, you just grab something and go. What would you say is the most, and this is an important distinction, because whenever we talk like casually online about meal plan companies, the meal plan companies always seem to be geared towards fitness specifically. It's always, okay, I want to lose weight, or I want to build muscle. I want this. So you have like your bodybuilding plan, which is kind of like your super clean or your crazy clean. If someone's like contest prepping, and then you'll have, but it just seems like from when I see and I get ads and stuff like that, it always seems to be something performance based for specifically athletes. So what would you say is the most popular plan? Because I know you have more luxurious or premium meals that aren't the same as your other meals. What would you say is the most popular?
Our most popular menus are the favorites and the healthy gourmet. The way I would describe healthy gourmet is restaurant style dishes that you'd probably be somewhat familiar with seeing somewhere out, out somewhere, just with a more health conscious twist. And then the favorites would be a combination of just a lot of times, really, the favorites is just an amalgamation of the highest performing meals. I'll tell you, the stuff that performs the most, the favorites doesn't change that much, because once you're on the favorites and people kind of like the same things, it'll rotate, but it's normally the same items. But that's where we have like our chicken parm. And for instance, here's a way we put a spin on it. You're asking before what makes it healthier, along with the ingredients. We'll take a familiar dish that you're never going to be sick of. If you love chicken parm, you'll easily love our chicken parm. But instead of breading, we're using panko, which is going to be lower on the glycemic index. We make our own sauces. I forgot to mention that earlier. Shame on me. We make our own sauces in-house. We make our own ketchup in-house. Chef Fernando is that meticulous because he's able to control every grain of sugar and salt. It's not cheaper to do it. It's not fun to do it, but we're able to bring more flavor, keeping you hooked to our food and still give you the results on the scale. If I was giving you delicious food, but you're not getting results, or you're starting to get the wrong results, you're going to leave. I have to do both. So we got the panko with the lower glycemic index. It's going to be pan-seared instead of fried. It's going to have low fat or no fat Parmesan on it. We make our own mozzarella. Was it mozzarella? Yeah, we make our own mozzarella in the house. We make our own cheese.
Damn.
Have you ever seen that process? I've never seen it. Like, I was like, what are you doing? They do it in a cold bucket and this whole like ninja flowing thing. I tried doing it and it wasn't good for me.
I've made cheese by accident. You just leave it in there, leave yogurt or milk in there long enough, and it starts to look like cheese. I'm not convinced that's how they actually do it, but I was like, oh, cheese is just kind of like old milk, right? Just leave it, just put it under your bed, and eventually it'll turn into.
That's what I thought cottage cheese was when I was a kid. I thought it was just old milk.
It was old milk. And then you try to eat old milk, like, oh God. That's one of the things. Like, how do you know if milk is bad? If you have to ask that question, then it's not bad. So if you smell it like, I'm not sure if this is bad, it's fine. It's fine. You know immediately.
Yeah, it'll let you know.
Yeah, it's not something that you're going to have to ask twice. When someone's looking for, let's say, who's your main customer in terms of who's looking, who do you think is most, let me backtrack that. Since there are a lot of meal plan companies, of course you can't speak for other people's audiences. Who is a meal plan optimal for? Like who would benefit the most from your experience based on who does sign up for your meal plan and where your meal plan can really shine? Obviously it saves time, but I mean, of course, I think literally you could probably name anyone or anything, but from your perspective, who could benefit most from being on a meal plan or a meal plan company, period?
I mean, it's hard to not say everybody, because I'm sure everybody's looking to save time, save money, as I mentioned before, and probably eat in a more, health conscious fashion. In particular, anyone who's a top performer. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. We have a lot of attorneys. Attorneys are obviously very aware of they live a billable life, so they're very aware of what their hour is worth. So when an attorney is realizing that he's spending 3 hours shopping, and he's doing that multiplication, he sees the value in what we bring to the table very quickly. So that's really it. A lot of people, when we first got into this, it's funny. You start a meal plan company, and like everyone from when you open a bank account to the food vendors, they're going to tell you, oh, what you should do? You should go to a gym and set up a table and do a demo with your food. It's like, yeah, there are people in the gym who do want to eat healthy and all that other stuff, but there's also a lot of people in the gym who might have plenty of time. They might be so strict that they're prepping their own meals, and they're like competitively prepped, and they're like, if you like prepping and that's your life, that's a thing for some people. So that's not necessarily where my client is. My client is in courtroom. He's in a business office. He might not be making it to the gym because he's also bouncing between going to work and picking up the kids and trying to get the whole foods and then trying to get home to cook it, trying to do all this other stuff. So the gyms aren't as good of a place, at least for our product, especially on the higher end. We do much better going into office buildings, because they definitely see there's an inconvenience. They have to leave the building or bring the food with them. I do the bring the food with you part really easy.
Yeah, that's huge. And because obviously for myself, I don't like eating anywhere. I don't like going to restaurants really. If I go and I have a drink, that's a whole different thing. It's a social thing. I get it.
It's an experience.
Yeah, I don't want anyone, this is me. I don't want anyone touching my food. I like my food. Like when I want a steak, I don't go to a steakhouse. No, I know how I like my steak. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be at home. I'm going to take it right off the grill. It's not going to sit under a fucking lamp. I'm going to have it on my plate. I'm going to eat it 3 seconds after, and I can have it whenever I want. Like that's what I like. So a lot of people that train or that take their fitness seriously will like that anyway. So I think that's a huge thing that you brought up. But what you also said, which is huge, and that's a big thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that when you say time is money, it's like, oh, okay, I get that. Cliches and these like little blanket statements and things that we've just said for decades and centuries and whatever, time is money, it loses its actual meaning because it's absolutely fucking true. So however much you spend or however much you make an hour, or you calculate how much is your time worth. And if your time is worth 20, 30, 40, 50, like whatever it is, it doesn't even matter. If you're spending 4 hours and you make $10 an hour, that's $40. It's $40. Like
without the food cost.
Without the food cost. So like if you're taking time away from, you could work for 4 more hours and make more money. You could, if you're making $20 an hour, that's $80. If you're making 30. So like if your time is more valuable than the task, it's like you need to start really thinking about where this is going, because time is all we have. It's the most valuable asset, but we don't notice that in the micro. We don't notice that in the daily. And when someone's saying in the comments that that's taking 4 hours a day for cooking for dogs and for kids and for this, and it's 2 hours a day, it's 18 hours a week. You start looking at days. It's like buying a drink at Starbucks once a day versus making coffee at home. You spend $4 on a venti mocha choca fuck me chino. Every week, that's $35. And then when someone tells me like, oh, well, I can't sign up right now, I can't do this, I'm like, that's fine. But that daily Starbucks that you're getting is costing you $140 a month, which is like 8 times what it is to get in better shape and to take control of your nutrition. And it's like that kind of offset is really important. You don't notice when you buy a pack of gum or you go to Chipotle. I mean, how much is an average Chipotle trip? Like $10 easy, like at the most?
Yeah, easy. I mean, I know I don't walk out of there without spending 14 because I'm going to get some chips while I'm there.
Okay.
All right. If
If
you're going to get wet, you might as well swim.
I agree. So then you're there, maybe you get a beer, you get a drink or whatever like that. So
they serve beer, so you got to get it.
Yeah. So $14 fucking dollars, $14. But some people do that every day. So you're going to tell me that that's going to be, not to mention the sodium content, which salt isn't,
That's what people don't get. Is
salt's not the devil for me,
butter.
but yeah, sodium's not the devil for me. I put Celtic sea salt like on everything. I put in my water, but
it's healthier salt.
Yeah,
that's not the
that's good shit.
Iodine salt or whatever. You know more about that.
Whatever the fuck they're putting in, the kind of salt that just bounces down. That's like marbles. It's all.
We use kosher salt because it's the better salt, I guess. That and the pink salt, whatever that is from
the Himalayan salt.
Yes,
from the ones from the fucking mountains.
From the mountains. I'm always like, I always picture Everest being pink, and I'm like, it's not pink, but I know it's covered in snow. I don't know why my mind goes there.
Like, where the fuck are they getting this salt from? They're getting it from the Himalayas, like just Sherpas, and there's so much of it everywhere. I always wonder it's gonna like some dirty mine, like in the northeastern India. Just some people, just slaves, just shoveling fucking salt out. Who knows where it comes from? No one does. Yeah, so putting a price on your time, putting a price on your health. I mean, obviously, you can, if you want
your family, spend more time with your family. There's going to be somebody out there who's going to get on a meal plan, mm-hmm. and they're going to be able to spend time with their kid. And instead of paying a tutor to do it, they'll be able to help their kid with their homework. And that kid, because of that interaction, they'll have a better relationship with them. And then that kid's going to go on with that confidence to get a bunch of scholarships. So you won't even have to pay for college. And then he's going to be like the next Jeff Bezos, all because you got on a meal plan. Now somewhere else, someone else isn't spending time with their kid, and that's going to be the next like Ted Bundy. So, I mean, if you're a parent, you make the decision.
If you're not
your kid's college paid for,
or a serial killer,
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, you might just be a murderer. That's a good pitch right there, man.
Butterfly effect. I got to write that one down.
That's a video right there. That's funny as shit. So, all right, we covered the meal plans.
Second analogy was really the second example is really what made it good.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. If you're not, you can. I like that with the tutor. You might be saving. It's a chain reaction, but it's kind of the same thing that when you're training and you're getting into your fitness and you're losing weight, you're adding years on your life. So I kind of tell all the listeners of the Daily Swole and members of Swole Enormous X that when you go to the gym, you're not. A lot of people don't integrate food. They don't integrate nutrition, and they don't integrate fitness as part of their life. It's like something else. Like, oh, I'm going to get this done. If I have time, I'll go. If I have time, I'll cook. If I have time, I'll go to the gym. It's like, no, that has to be the foundation. It has to be like one of those, part of the rope. It has to be intertwined with everything, because if you are investing, going to the gym, eating properly is an investment. It seems like you're spending money. It seems like it's something that you're losing. It seems like, okay, well, I'm spending $100 a month on this, or $1,000 or $10. You look at it as like a small thing. When I eat something, when I put something in my body, that's what she said, it's an investment. It's an investment in my future. So every bite that you take, of course, that's super fucking dramatic. If I have a slice of pizza, oh, it's a poor investment. Well, that might be losing like $3 from a financial standpoint. It's like, oh, you're losing a little bit of money. It's like, you're Warren Buffett, you lose $20. You don't even know that even happened because you just made 10 billion on the other hand. But every time you eat food, every time you make these decisions, you're investing in your longevity. You're making a choice. So that choice is an investment with food and with fitness, but it has to be completely integrated. It can't be something separate. And people don't really put enough stock or enough effort into their nutrition, which is huge. And of course, their fitness is huge, but it's just the mindset of you adding into your body. So you're spending money on Fit Food Fresh. You're spending money on a meal plan. You're spending money at the grocery store and your time. It's just a matter of what's most important to you, but most people don't recognize time being the most valuable asset. They see it as a monetary thing, where if you have more time, you have more time to do anything else you want, including work more, start a business, spend time with your kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know you mentioned earlier how the time is money thing. It's almost like we've heard it so much that it's lost whatever weight. But I've found the most true things in life they seem very banal and very like vanilla, but that's why they've lasted for centuries and decades and however long, eons sometimes. And time is something that I see I'm learning to value more as I get older, because it seems like you have a lot. And the older you get, I think like in the 30s is where you really start realizing like, oh, okay, wait, it is ticking down. How efficient can I be? Can I get the most? How can I get the most out of this week? And I mean, that's why we started this. Again, we started this because we believed in meal plans. So the fact that we just happen to have the best one only makes my job easier when I discuss it. But we saw it as, I was an entrepreneur at the time. We still are. We have different businesses. And it all comes down to the fact that you need to be efficient with whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to do. If you're trying to be a competitive bodybuilder, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to start a business, if you're trying to go to grad school or finish college or anything like that, everything is very time dependent. Learning, even just sitting and watching Netflix, like this is all time, and you can't compress it. You can't get more out of it. So you have to look at what things am I doing most frequently that are the biggest time sucks in my life. If I could outsource sleeping, I would do that. I can't do that, not yet.
Not yet. That's a huge thing when it comes to making progress, whether it's fitness related or business related, because obviously we're both entrepreneurs and we have, some crossover, and we knew each other since before I started this. You had just recently started Fit Food Fresh. But I always keep coming back to, people always ask me, how do I get all this stuff done? And you have a lot to juggle too with you have employees and you have a lot of moving parts, because you have a massive area when it comes to, where you deliver to. But what I wanted to go with this is because I do most of my stuff myself. Most of it myself. And I'm slowly growing a very small, very tight-knit fucking lockdown team. And I want to talk about corporate culture with what because you have a very interesting, it's great. I fucking love it, which is huge. And, when you have when you start bringing people on, it's important to have a skill that you have experience with. There are certain situations where I think it's great. Okay, I have no idea what that is or how to do it. So let me bring on John, and John can do it. John knows what he's doing. But if you understand how to do something, you know how to hire someone, you know how to bring someone on, you know what you want, you've experienced it, you've tasted it, you've kind of been in the trenches with it. And where I'm going with this is your late night deliveries and how you still do them now and again to kind of keep your foot, to kind of keep your hands dirty, so to speak, clean. The food's very clean. Yeah, keep the nails or the knives sharp or the, So I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I think it's very important to kind of always be in touch. I know a lot of CEOs still go into like the ground floor and they spend a day and they kind of, because you have to remember where you came from, but it also keeps on building that culture, because then your employees know like, well, this fucking guy he's still putting in the work. He's still going out and doing it himself. Sometimes you might have to, but sometimes you might want to, but it probably brings you back to why you started and how far you've come so far.
Yeah, I think I should go back. There's something else I said that probably encapsulates the spirit of Fit Food Fresh more. And we wanted to create a business that we wanted to both be members of and employees of. So showing, and they have all these memes where they have like the leader pulling the sled versus like being on top of the sled and cracking the whip. There's leader and boss. I think that humility is a huge, huge thing. And starting this from the ground up, everybody was like coming on at our level and helping us with whatever it was. So we just kind of kept that same mentality. And yeah, I'll do delivery routes. I was helping pack a couple weeks ago. And it's good because not only is it good for your employees to see that you're willing to do whatever it takes and get down there, it shows them that you understand what they do. It lets you understand what they do more intimately. There's things that also, as you grow in a business or as things change, having exposure to the packing process at 100 people versus 300 people, there's some things that start becoming problems and bottlenecks. So it's good to also be closer to that. So you start seeing that at 150 instead of there's a problem at 300 people. And it's like, oh, why didn't we change this 6 months ago? So there's a lot of value to that. But I think a lot of it is making sure that the employees see you doing it. They'll know that you got their back. If someone's sick or whatever, you'll step up. You're not just going to sit there and let them share the load. You'll step in if you can. I remember we even had we used to have this, I forget what it's called, like a bilge pumper. It's some kind of a pump that basically pumps out the water from the drains and everything in the kitchen. And the pump was backing up and it was all like the dirty dishwater and all sorts of like nasty stuff that's in. And I would get down there and vacuum this thing out and just so everybody could keep working. I've washed dishes. My signature in my email is still dishwasher. It's COO/dishwasher extraordinaire, because that was the other thing. I can't cook. I really can't cook. So these are the ways I can contribute in the kitchen. When I see somebody else messing with a vacuum instead of doing what they rather be doing, it's like I'll get messy. I'll roll up my sleeves. Steven, I remember one time he was helping paint the floor, and he wore some like brand new $500 shoes because he's got my business partner Steven, because he's got $500 shoes. So that's step one, and he got paint on them. And I told him, I was like, step one for not getting paint on your $500 shoes is don't have $500 shoes. But yeah, we get in there and it's cool. It's our baby though, and the physical space itself is something that we've put together and assembled and painted the walls. And whatever our skill set, if we could do it between delivery driving, packing stuff, holding a paintbrush, vacuuming garbage up, whatever it is, even now, like the drip pan from the AC overfills in the drop ceiling and stops. I'm the one up there with the vacuum on a ladder precariously, also because I don't want anybody else, breaking their leg and not showing up to work. But you just got to be in there, man. And they respect that. And that's what I love about having a small company. We've got less than 50 people. So I'm able to know them. They're able to know us. And, it's like a family. It's cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great, you don't lose touch with your people. You don't lose touch with what's going on. You can catch things before. And I've always kind of thought if you just try to keep things small and keep that culture like on point, and you keep it tight and everyone's kind of like, you know, in the dirt of it, it's going to grow. It's going to grow, but it's going to be, you want it to be someplace
solid.
Yeah.
So dense
you
and
want it to
solid,
be
you know?
so dense and solid. Again, that's what she said. I don't know if she would say that, but she does. I love she. But if you have a place where you want to go to work, I think that was huge, man. If you're going to be doing this every fucking day, and if you're creating something yourself and you're starting it from the ground up, and that's one of the reasons why I say whatever the fuck I want. That's why I do things my way, because it's my shit. And I have to it's crazy. I have to remind myself that it's my fucking thing. I have to remind myself when I first started, when I changed something from doing it at 12 every day, and it just became a burden. Like I couldn't keep that schedule. It really started affecting my quality of life because it was right in the middle of the day and I was always stressful trying to get it. It wasn't working anymore. And I realized, oh, like I'm the only one that's keeping me, because I'm kind of an employee of my own thing. Like I didn't create a job. However, it's it's my thing. It's the most important thing to me. So I kind of hold myself to this unrealistic standard. And I realized, oh, no one's gonna, it's not a big deal. It's something that I need to shift, but you have to like dart and move and adjust. But you're creating your own thing, so you may as well create something that you want to be a part of and make it optimal for that. You don't have to necessarily sell out to any ideology or anything that you think someone else might want. You have to do it your way, because then it's going to be authentic. What is your thought on? And here's a good one. We'll talk about corporate culture in a second. What is your take on the customer is always right?
Man, this is such a good question.
I know,
because
I asked it.
I just heard this quote a little while ago, and it's a Henry Ford quote, and it's been coming up like every couple of days. I have a reason to like regurgitate it, so much so that my employees are like, yeah, like you told us that like twice last week too. But I just love it. So Henry Ford has one, because we are all about, and this is contrary to what we said before, we are all about, trying to use our members' feedback to steer the ship. But what we've also realized is people don't always know what's best for them or what they really want. Our member on day one, I'll tell you the quote. It's, if I were to have asked my customer, I would have made a faster horse. So it's basically,
I have that on my wall.
Okay, that's such a good quote. I never heard that before. There's so many good quotes out there.
If I'd asked my customer what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite fucking quotes on the wall behind me. I fucking love that one. Good one.
For example, someone on day one is going to think, I want to pick all of my own meals, which we allow. I want the menu to change every week, which it does. I'm going to want, they want all these things. If we fast forward 90 days, you don't want to pick your food anymore, because now it's an inconvenience. Even spending 10 minutes a week doing that, it's something you got to remember to do in the chaos of your day. You appreciate the fact that we have an automation program that's now built out of necessity, because we started this like very passively too. We were like, we don't want to do any auto ordering or anything. You put the order in, otherwise we'll never bill you. That way there's 0% chance of a billing error, because we hated billing errors. So that was like our whole little shtick. Oh, it's all week to week. Well, I call somebody up after 3 weeks of not being on the food. Hey man, what's wrong? You don't like the food? What happened? And they're just saying, no, I love the food. I just don't think about it till Saturday. Your deadline's Wednesday. So we created an auto program, just because someone on day one doesn't know what they're going to want on day 90 or day 60. So you got to get the feedback, got to get the critiques. But sometimes when you're about to propose another idea, even if it gets shot down, like we asked some people in a closed group, what do you guys think about the menu changing less frequently? We're thinking about repeating the menu. So it's, instead of weekly, it changes every 2 weeks. So you see the same thing twice. We're like, how bad would that be? Because every time I go to the restaurant, I order the same thing. So I wouldn't mind, getting more familiar with the menu. And then we could see, really what's successful. Was it successful because it was new, or was it successful because people reordered it so they really liked it? So we proposed that, and people are like, no, the big thing is your variety and how it's always changing. And I like seeing the new stuff all the time, and that would get boring. We did it anyway, and it was a huge success. So Um,
That's very common with people not knowing, especially in fitness. Like I could bring that right back with, from my perspective, it's when it comes to exercise and nutrition. I have this kind of like this little button that sometimes gets triggered when let's say get a new member. I'll get a new member in and they might say, well, this isn't what I expected. And it's like, good. For me, that's
Surprise.
good. It's not supposed to be what you expected. It's not supposed to be what you are familiar with, because if you're familiar with it, it's not going to fucking work, because what you're doing now is not working, which is why you're here. So if you keep on doing the same fucking shit, right? That whole thing, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But if you're going to try something to get different results, you by definition have to do something different. You can keep on making progress and working hard. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. They think, oh, if I just keep on working hard and hammering the same fucking nail, it's going to go in. Maybe, but you have to hit it from different angles. You have to hit it from the side a little bit, hit from this, tap it a little bit, smash it with the mallet. You have to go at it over and over again. It doesn't mean you give up on your journey, but you have to mix up your approach. And that brings me to another great, and I love that fucking quote, by the way, that I just located on my wall. You could probably actually see it. You can't really see it. You can't read it, but it's back there.
I love that wall, man. That's
Dude,
you can't pay for that. That's awesome.
I literally lay down to stretch and I look because I forget half of them. I forget half of them, where they are. So I'm just looking around, and every day I'll just sit there and just stare, kind of like meditation. I just look. And every day there's a different one that speaks to me. They're like, oh, I remember that. And yeah, it's just a reminder that all these successful people and all these great minds and all these everyone says the same thing. It's like, oh, just never give up. Keep on working. You got to start somewhere. And these are the same, I guess, they just lose their flavor. They lose their flavor. And you keep on looking at people. It's easy for you to say, it's like, well, fucking Kobe and LeBron and Jordan, like these guys fucking train for like 8 hours before the game. Like everyone, the people that are successful, they work harder, they keep on doing it, but paying attention to your customer, bringing it back to this, they don't always know what they want or what they need. They know what they think they want. They know what they're familiar with, but they don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be. But you're not going to know unless you try it. So if you're changing the menu or you're changing and shifting, you can kind of get some feedback. But I think it's also fantastic, and I do this with our members in Swolenormous X. I do a lot of polls in the private Facebook group. So we have tons of interaction in there. And I've kind of realized this, I guess, over the course of the last year, because I have so many different aspects of my membership section with different things, from instructional videos to programs to the yoga studio to Swolga classes to Swollen 7. It's like our mobility section. There's so many different aspects, and it's very easy because I'm fucking editing it all and trying to do this in the podcast. I just bite off more than I can chew, and I just try to swim. I just jump in the deep end and try to swim, which is what you have to do. So you have to, set yourself up for and challenge yourself. But what I started doing was just asking. You start surveying, what do you guys want to see next? What are you most excited about? What makes you the most excited of the following updates or things that I'm working on? So then they tell you, and like, cool, now I know where to, if you get 90, and I just did one the other day, it was like 80%, voted this thing, and then, 30 with this, and cool. It doesn't mean that they're all going to get done, but where should I be focusing most of my attention? People really want this? Cool. So I could focus on one thing that everyone wants. And it's great to get feedback, and it's great to listen and to pay attention, but it's that kind of Venn diagram where you have that crossover between what people want and what that they need. And another great quote is, sometimes you have to let some fires burn. You have to let some things just kind of fucking in the wind for now, just because you can only handle so much at one time. What's your experience with, well, not your experience, but what do you find? Because I have a couple of people mentioning corporate culture in the comments, because I kind of alluded to it earlier. How would you describe and of course at the end we'll give people where they can find you and where they can see the hijinks possibly, but how high on the totem pole, how would you place corporate culture in terms of the importance to your company? How does this relate to the customer's always right? Because I have some opinions and we can discuss those, but let's get a little bit more into your corporate culture and what you do on your end to facilitate that culture.
I think a lot of it is the key to life is not taking yourself too seriously. We're very fortunate that we have a service that isn't, I've been in other businesses that are very, very not dark, but just so heavy, like financial stuff and talking about mortgages and like food is just so much more fun. So we believe, happy people make happy food and provide a happy service for our members. So we make the corporate culture as fun as possible, even in I mean, we've got Sonos throughout the place, so there's music playing. A lot of people we have about 20% of our members who are in the East Boca area. They work or live there. They'll come and pick up from our office, and we engage with them. And a lot of them say, especially when the first time they're there, they don't know what to expect. They're expecting it to be like a storefront, but you literally just walk into our office. There's not a fridge in sight or anything. You can't see the kitchen because it's through another door. So you walk into what looks like a small office, and aside from a huge wall with Fit Food Fresh, you'd be like, I'm in the wrong place. And then you're just like, do you guys have like a retail location where I'm supposed to be getting my food? But that's where it is. So you're interacting with our customer service. But so we like having a fun environment. The people who come in a lot of times the first time, they'll say that it looks like Google. We got the standing desks. We've got these pedal bikes that actually track how many miles that you pedal in a day. And every once in a while, guys will have competitions on that. We have different themed shirt days. We don't really do this shirt regularly. We've got one that says meal prep unicorn, another one that has a quote, and we just, don't wear the collared shirts every day. We have Thursday, which is our dress up day, and the guys like dressing up and they like competitively dressing up. I refuse to do it. I'll wear a polo and that's it.
Jesus.
But that's it. It's the environment that they want to create. So they'll have push-up competitions every hour on the hour on a Friday and all this stuff to describe the environment. It's fun yet focused. We're still there to do a job. Fortunately, we've got a good skill set with leveraging software and automating a lot of things so that the guys are able to, when they have an interaction with you, they're not bogged down with a bunch of monotonous kind of work. They can give you a higher level quality of customer service. They're more patient because they just got down laughing about something. If you check out our Instagram, the guys are characters. Like, I work with some of the funniest people on the planet, and we need to be filming more. You mentioned earlier that we need to just set up GoPros and just film 24 hours and just have someone cut it. That would be, because the most random stuff will break out. These guys are also talented, so they'll randomly sing, or there'll be an instrument there. I think Justin has a Grammy. Like, he used to be a music producer.
Jesus
so like,
Christ.
You walk into the like most well executed random like harmony or something like that.
You walk in, you're like, is that a fife? Like, where the fuck did you get where'd you get a harpsichord from? Like, who's got the xylophone?
Yeah, these guys, Maverick and Andrew, and they're hilarious. Steven and I joke around a lot. We like to joke. Chef's a funny guy. Rodrigo, our sous chef, is funny. So we like people. It's very important for us to love what we do, and it'd be impossible for me to get. It's a selfish reason, really, because I want happy members, and my members are only going to be happy if they're dealing with happy employees. My employees are only going to be happy if I provide a happy environment. If it wasn't for all that stuff, screw it. This is all selfish reasons because I want a happy place to work. So it happens to benefit my members tremendously. It happens to benefit the rest of the company tremendously. But that's what we wanted, man. We wanted a company that we wanted to be clients of and work for. I would love to work for my company, and that's something I'm very proud to say. We take care of our guys. They know that we've got their back for anything, and we love their feedback as well. They have equal. Everyone's got a hand on the wheel here. So our employees have as much pull probably as Steven and I. We've got like a veto card that we can use, but I can't think of a time when we've ever, just been like, nope, we're doing it this way. We're doing it our way. It's a collective thing because they're the ones who are talking to our members. They're the ones getting the direct feedback. They know how many people said the rice was, or the broccoli was a little al dente. If one person said it, or was it 5 people? They know if they're bringing it up, they know better than me. I'm not going to say, screw it, I got to listen to these guys. So it goes back to humility, like I said before, knowing what's going on and who knows more than you, and being willing to listen to that member who's been on for 1 week and doesn't know you from anybody else. I still want to hear what he has to say. What was the last meal plan like? If you got something to say, like how do we measure up? The guy who's been on for 6 years, I want to hear about what he has to say as well. So everyone's got a voice, and from our members to our employees, we just want to make everything amazing.
That's huge. Your employees have to feel like they're a part of something, and that's what's important for me with my team. It's important to feel to be involved, to be a part of it, to be on the inside, to know where the company is going, to know there's a good message. Like you're creating from the top down rather than everything revolves around the customer. And I know a lot of people that they just drive their employees and create this shitty work environment. Like you're not going to have happy customers. That's just hands down. You're not going to have anyone that prioritizes the customer if they don't believe in what they're doing and they don't believe in the business. And you are the business. And I like that analogy earlier when you're saying that the leader, the CEO, the people that are in charge are pulling the sled, and you should be willing to always do more than your employees because they're never going to work as hard as you. They're never going to love the business as much as you. But when you're fortunate to create a good environment where people want to be a part of it, they want to see it succeed, that's so fucking priceless. The whole customer is always right thing. I just couldn't disagree more. I think often the customer is wrong, but in the sense that they're just unknowledgeable in the area, which is why you have the fucking business, which is why I have my business. But if you ever put the customer before the employee, then you're fucking up, in my opinion, because your people need to be your top priority, and they need to know that. If they're dickholes and they fuck around with the customers and they suck, then they're fired. But if they're making an honest mistake, and I've had things that went wrong, like a link was broken or this happened. It's like, shit happens. It's all right. I mean, you won't forget it the next time. Like you pick it up and move on. And
we've fired some members before. Well, we've
tell me about
anybody.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
If there's somebody who seems like like you were saying, the unreasonable people, the customer is not always right. We all know that. We all know it's a saying because it's a good business practice and it's a good little mantra to have when you got someone, going at you. And it's great if you can do that all the time. But in the reality of the situation, you can't. And especially a business like ours, where this person's going to theoretically come back every week, and my team is going to have to deal with them every week. If there's someone who just maybe has some other issues that they're taking out on us, or there's just a pattern of that kind of behavior, we can't solve that. Our amazing customer service and food will never solve that. And it's now my responsibility to make sure my guys have their heads in the right place. If they're coming off of that phone call with that person, and now you're calling them and you're at like a level 3, they might already be spent and they're not giving you their level 10, So I actually learned, I'm sure you're familiar with Duffy's, the restaurant chain down here in South Florida. They've got over 30 something locations. And the owner, I got this from him, the former owner, former CEO, Paul Emmett. He said that it sounds so good. Says, I invite them to take their loyalty elsewhere. That's Irish diplomacy. If you don't know, I learned the Irish diplomacy definition in Fire Academy, and that is the ability to tell someone to go to hell and have them looking forward to the trip. So we invite them to take their loyalty elsewhere. And we fired some members because that 1 out of 100 is worth losing if he's going to ruin the experience for another 10. And, fortunately, once you get to a size that's big enough, you have another customers to do that. We had some people in the beginning we couldn't afford. We had to take it, and we had to just deal with it. But now we're at a level where we can take care of our guys. It rarely happens. It's never because they have a problem with our guys. It's just they expect something from the service, and they, we have a very liberal refund policy. Basically, if you don't like a meal for any reason, we buy back. We got 100% guarantee on everything that we do. So if it's the delivery, if the rice looks at you the wrong way, whatever it is, we want the feedback, but we'll give that to you. There are some people who can easily abuse, a reward system or a refund system like that. So, if that's an issue, or
if
like I said, if they
if the
call
rice is looking at you weird, I think there's a bigger problem there. If the rice actually has conscience, which is
we've got
consciousness, which is a whole other conversation, because I just listened to some fucking mind blowing podcast about consciousness, and now I'm like looking at everything like, you're made of the same stuff that I'm made up of. What the fuck are you thinking?
I've got to listen to that one because I just listened to Tim Ferriss's one on psychedelics. So those two together might be really interesting.
There's a great it's with Rob Reed. It's called After On. It's
I'm writing down so much stuff.
Dude, no, his podcasts are deep as fuck. It's all about there's hardcore people on there. Hardcore. There's one recently, like one the other day was about conscious. There's two back to back. I think it was the last two ones. One was consciousness and one was about the multiverse. It's fucking awesome. It's so good. It's so good. I easily go down the rabbit hole with those like podcasts or those YouTube videos that show, it's just like a little bit of music in the background and it just shows, okay, the size of the moon, the size of the earth, the size of the sun. Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. And you're like, where the fuck is the earth? And like, look at this one. Oh, hey, this is in this big thing.
Where's our
and this
solar
big
system?
thing, there's a million of those. And a million of those, there are a million of those. And you're like, oh no. And you're like, maybe working out every day and maybe this is just a fucking waste of time. And you're like, oh my God, it's so big. Why am I working out again? So I could be healthy, so I can just disappear. It's nuts, man. That's what's crazy about. And I actually did listen to, and I believe in this 100% because anytime that I travel home, because my family's up in Connecticut and there's no lights at night. You just see every fucking star. And you think about things differently when you see stars. You think about things a little bit differently. You have this different perspective on what you're doing, on where you're not wasting, or where you're utilizing your time, where you're focusing your efforts when you see how many fucking places there are out there that only that your eyes can see. But down here in Florida, there's just so much light pollution. You can see, you're like, oh, no, it's a plane. You just see stars, but they're fucking planes. Like you see maybe one star if you're lucky, 2 stars, and the rest of them are just planes landing at the airport. But
I wonder what kind of impact that has on people's psychology growing up down here. Because when I go out to Colorado or Connecticut, my family, my parents my mom has family up there. I've noticed that you see more of a sky, and I have that same kind of. It does have that kind of I don't know, reverence and that kind of cathartic, because it's something that's so much older than you can fathom and so much further away than you can fathom. That's just like, if you sit there and really like, oh man. Yeah. Maybe light pollution is part of the agenda to keep us unaware and unenlightened.
Oh, okay. People are already jumping on this multiverse. Yeah, it's so crazy. And I've listened to so many podcasts about, they talk about Elon Musk and the whole Mars thing. Like, we're not going to fucking Mars. That's stupid. There's nothing there. Like, there's no value there. We have to do stuff to fix this fucking planet. But what's crazy about the podcast I was mentioning, there was this whole concept that was discussed called enders because of 3D printing and synthetic biology. So some of the real concern that is just starting to be discussed are people that can use things like CRISPR in their bedroom and create their own viruses. And that's the scariest fucking shit that I've been listening about. And if you want something that's going to affect how you sleep at night, it's thinking about people that are creating their own viruses in their rooms, because you can use these little, if you can buy a 3D printer and make a gun, you can use these apps. It's just a program. Hey, let me take out this line of code and make this weaponized. And then you 3D print a virus, and then you just go and be like, you let it go into the environment. It's like, how do you prevent that from happening, period?
I have this philosophy, like this, I don't know what it is on that.
Getting
it's a
dark
thought or a hypothesis or a visual, but like just imagine like 2 rockets, or like Tron, where like if I hit this one explodes or whatever. So it's this Tron situation going like this, and one of them is represented by our ability to reach enlightenment, and the other one is our ability to just destroy ourselves. And they're getting closer and closer and closer, and it's just going to like eke out where it's like, which one's going to get it at the end? Because like you said, technology makes things a lot greater, but there's always a dark way. There's always an adverse effect with that. You could cure things with gene editing, but then you can also create some crazy thing that's like just immune to whatever, and it's airborne. It's like the worst thing possible, or it could be like a dirty bomb or some kind of nuclear bomb, because eventually even that technology is going to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, where you can do some crazy damage to us as a whole if we reach
one of the things
that
with
level
one of the things
without the conscious control,
one of the things with energy, when you said nuclear, I think it's pretty fascinating that we haven't destroyed ourselves with that yet, but that because of a couple of these disasters like Chernobyl and a couple like Fukushima and stuff, that pretty much research and development on nuclear technology and nuclear power has stopped. And a lot of these, like, I can't name a name right now, but listening to these podcasts, and they're talking about how that's one of the best ways to create energy. And that's not something to be feared of. It's we haven't developed any technology because everyone just gets afraid, like, oh, I don't want anything bad to happen. It's like,
got a lot of bad press.
It's like, let's make it fucking better because we can provide power to more people. And yeah, I mean, we just stop doing things and we get afraid of one thing and then we focus our attention elsewhere and we don't pay attention to this and that. I mean, as much as there's technology and stuff that seemingly ruins things for people, there's so much stuff coming that could be beneficial. Like if you can create like synthetic biology, you create new limbs, you create new body parts. And people that are in this field are saying that you're not going to have to deal with amputation. You get a new leg, you get a new arm, you're going to get a new organ. People are going to be living longer. So how do we create food? Actually, let's talk about this, because I joke about it now and it gets good clicks and it's like, fuck this fake meat, but they're growing meat, right? I'm not a big fan of like the plant meat. It's like, oh, this is meat. No, it's not. No, it's not. Like you wouldn't make
a lot of soy.
You wouldn't make an apple that tastes like beef. It's like, no. I mean, why would you do it the other way around? If you're a vegan, you're eating a fake vegan hot dog. It's like you are in some hardcore denial if you're eating a vegan hot dog and you think that you're righteous or you're saving the environment and stuff like that. So there's some weird things like that. But what do you think about the lab grown meat? I don't even know what it's made out of, but the petri dish meat.
That stuff, from what I understand, is very expensive, but obviously with more technology and competition, it's going to get cheaper, and I think we're going to see that in our lifetime as like a competitive alternative. I look forward to it because I would love to be vegan for many reasons. Very basically, like the environmental costs that meat takes, like cows and chicken and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But and then also the cruelty part of it. But it's hard to do. Once it's grown in a lab, we're getting it cheap enough, and it's not any bad stuff in it or preservatives. That's going to be interesting. Right now, it's weird, and the stuff that they have, it's an interesting kind of novelty. Like the stuff that's more popular are like the plant-based Impossible Burger and Beyond Meat. Right? Those are the two brands.
Yeah, I believe those are the big ones. The Impossible Burger is the latest one that's kind of kicking up. Was it made of peas or some shit?
Yeah, it's interesting, and they have I think they have like a lot of tech behind it because they're innovating a lot of stuff. I forget what podcast I was listening to, and it was very interesting. But not to digress too much into that, but I think it's interesting that it's getting vegan more in people's faces, because I think it's stupid when people refer to like veganism like as binary. Like you can eat vegan stuff without being a vegan, and like you're like if that's something that you want to contribute to. But a lot of people, like when we do a food demo, for instance, if I tell someone something's vegan, they won't eat it. That's where I think is stupid, because a carrot is vegan. I tell you, like it's not bad for you. It's not like got all the nutrients sucked out of it because it doesn't have any animal protein in it. But it's weird when I use like that buzzword. Some people are just like, it can't possibly taste good for me.
Yeah.
Or it can't possibly be good. But
so what are your thoughts? So how come when you were saying that you would love to be vegan or be more vegan, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously neither of us are scientists on the cutting edge, and new research and stuff has been coming out all the time. And one of the things of course, people have been messaging always about like the new documentary Game Changers. And of course, any of those videos, just super, like, tons of bias and tons of people forget that everything that a human being does is biased to some extent. Everything has an ideology, and it's really hard to get straight information, even from the scientific community, because it's all how you skew it. It's all the populations. What's being analyzed is a correlation. There's no
Who's
causation.
funding the studies?
Yeah, I mean, and correlation is really because the vast majority of people don't know how to read a research study. They're very complicated, and they usually study a specific thing. But there's a lot of meta analyses where they just take, like, let's say 100, 200 studies, and they cross check and they see correlations, which is if you are in the scientific community, a correlation is not causation. That might lead to, oh, we should study this more because look at this correlation. And then they do a study on that actual effect. But correlation doesn't mean that, that's actually the reason. So what's your thought on why you want to be more vegan? Because if someone wants to be vegan, that's on them. I've been vegetarian. I don't know if I went vegan completely, but that was a long time ago. And literally after like 6 months, I was just fundamentally, I couldn't do it any longer. I just was craving from it felt like it was in my spine that I needed some meat. But this is as a result of having tons of acid reflux. I was eating antibiotic pumped chicken, like fucking massive bread. This is like literally 13, 14 years ago. I was eating just, I wasn't after quality. So once I switched the quality, my acid reflux went away because I was pretty much literally like plant-based and all that stuff. But then when I came back and I was eating quality foods, I focused on grass-fed meats and everything, never had acid reflux, never had any issues again. And of course, you're going to find people that have long life and success with veganism and vice versa. Carnivore, vegan, everyone always has to have an extreme and buzzwords and fads and shit like that. So what's your reasoning behind what you said about being more vegan or plant-based or any of that shit?
Well, I'll tell you the reason I'm not first. The reason I'm not is it's too hard to, I think, get the nutrition that I need. Like you said, I really believe that what makes the most sense to me, at least, is I know animals don't seem to evolve too quickly. So I don't think human beings really evolve too quickly. So we're probably pretty much the same kind of mechanics that we were, tens of thousands of years ago, right?
Yeah.
So tens of thousands of years ago, we didn't have as much animal protein readily available. Like the diets were completely dependent upon where you live. Like to me, I think the blood type diet, if blood type is as directly correlated to where your ancestry is from geographically as I think it is, that one seems to make the most sense to me. But as far as like not being on vegan, I think it's because I do think we still need some nutrients from animal proteins, and I'm still majority animal protein at almost every single one of my meals. The reason I would love to be vegan if I could get the right nutrition and I knew it was the healthiest diet. Like if we could do some like test tube meat that had like the perfect nutrients and it was satiating and it was delicious and it tastes just like a filet mignon or whatever else, sign me up. I'm all for it, because realistically, that's what tastes good to us. That's what like our taste buds, were bred to recognize as being calorically dense. And back then when it was like few and far between, that's what we like. That's why we like sweet stuff. That's why we like buttery stuff. That's why we like meat and that savory stuff. It's calorically dense.
God, you're making me hungry, bro.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I literally have, before we got on, I like marinated a steak. So I'm like, fucking like, oh, I just remembered it's in there. It's waiting for me. It's saying, Papa, come. I think the hard part, I like what you said about the blood type diet.
But I don't like the cruelty aspect. I don't like sitting there eating a burger knowing that the animal was raised in like conditions I wouldn't want to grow up in,
right.
Stuff like that. It's like, it's not healthy. When it comes down to a business like that, they're always going to make it the most efficient way. And when there's something living involved, it's never going to behoove that thing. Once we get to test tubes and shit like that, yeah, let's all eat steaks. Because they're all going to be.
I agree that it's.
And keep the cholesterol in there because screw it.
Well, that's what people. That's where that separation happens. Just because I consume meat, I certainly do not think that the farming industry has it on lock. It's a fucking hot mess. I also think people in general massively underestimate how many fucking people there are in the country and in the world. So it's very easy to forget. What's up? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
It sounds echoey. Did your headphones fall out? You could talk
Yeah.
again. Talk again. Say something. Oh, you
Can't hear you.
I could hear you. Did you take your headphones out? Anyway, I'll just.
I did.
Can you hear me now? How are we good? We good? You're just staring at me.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, yeah, I can't hear you. That's weird.
Did something? If it fell out, maybe it was. Let me see here. Yeah, nothing changed on my end. How we doing, fam? How's everyone doing? What's up? What's up, Mike? What's up, David? James, Meredith.
All right, I solved it.
What happened?
The Bluetooth picked up. 'Cause I was like, here.
There you go.
I was like, hello.
All right. So where were we? We were talking about. Oh, we're talking about the. Yeah. So the farming industry. There's so many fucking people in the world. I think people drastically underestimate how many people we have to feed. So whenever we go after GMOs and non-organic and grain-fed, if you've ever tried to grow strawberries or grapes or anything like in your fucking like on your deck in your backyard, animals eat that shit right a fucking way. So organic or not, you're getting your shit sprayed like crazy because those things do not grow. They don't grow. Like I've tried to grow things. I've done this before in the past. Bugs eat that shit like crazy. So when you're seeing all this food, the only reason it's there is because we use technology. We have sprays. So we have to have this trade-off. If you're not going to go hunt the shit yourself or gather it, someone else has to. So you can't really complain, or people love to complain about shit that, people love to complain about shit all the time. But if you're going to complain, you better go and fucking buy your own farm and grow your own shit and hunt your own meat. I think if you hunted, that's the best way. But how many people can hunt? You're not going to have 400 million people hunting. Then you're going to have other problems. You're going to have a lot of people hunting people.
Yeah. I know Joe Rogan gets a lot of flack for hunting, and the argument is, I mean, it's a much more humane way. That animal, that meal wasn't part of any kind of pain except for maybe a brief moment at the end if he didn't get it right on, but they practice intently to make sure they get the heart and it's as instantaneous as possible of a death as possible.
Yeah, there's a huge. I always talk about how Disney is creating vegans. Disney created vegans, and I know Joe Rogan's talked about it on his podcast too. But it always kind of comes up that this personification of animals, right? You have the Lion King that came out today, and everyone's going to go watch the same fucking movie. You know what's going to happen. The same fucking thing is going to happen. Fucking Mufasa's going to die, and Simba's going to win and do all that shit. But you have all these animals with names. From every fucking movie that I saw when I was little, you have The Rescuers, you have all those mouse movies and Fievel, and then you have, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and every single fucking kids movie has animals that talk and have animals that have names and personalities,
but not the animals we eat here in America.
No, not those. Not that.
there's no cow.
Yeah, I know.
We use the dog, we use cat, we do a rat. like,
but everything.
No. Don't. We gotta sell burgers with the rides.
I
guys.
know, right? Eat more chicken, right? Is it the Chick-fil-A thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone just gets so. Look, I know it's important to try to keep the environment. I think it's ideal if we can avoid any kind of pain and suffering. But if you're not eating animals, you are going to have so many fucking animals around. You're literally going to have deer in your living room if those aren't regulated. So even if you were only eating meat, you're still going to have to, honestly, you still have to kill animals. You're still going to have to eliminate them because they're just going to overpopulate. That's the reason why they're not overpopulated already. It's because people hunt. And of course, the farmed ones are created and raised. And then, but it's not a perfect system.
What people need to do is just start, you vote with your dollars. They'll only be providing what we're buying. And if there's a trend, like there's obviously way more organics being sold and way more organic companies because organic wasn't like now than 10 years ago because organic wasn't like as common of a word 10 years ago. So if people are willing to invest in their health in grass-fed meats, it's only going to get cheaper because more companies are going to be, or more farmers are going to be doing it. And they're going to realize that that's the trend that they need to go to stay competitive. It's coming with the awareness and the consciousness, but people have to vote with their dollars and buy the better products and the things that they believe in to kind of steer it that way, regardless of whether it's a vegan product or grass fed. I mean, go with the healthier options, and they'll do whatever we're willing to buy.
Yeah, it'd be a nice thing to like assume or to think, okay, if we know for a fact, if we know that this is a better option, this is a better diet, this is a better thing, if it comes out and aside from all the bias and all the propaganda, this, that, and the other, I think it's okay to consume animal proteins. I think it's natural. I don't think that, I mean, obviously we need a certain amount of nutrients. Can you be a vegan? Sure. Can you be a carnivore? I mean, we're finding that a lot of people are doing it. I think it's fascinating, but we don't have like a specific answer. I don't know all the details about the blood type diet. I've heard of it, but I do think that it makes a lot of sense when it comes down to ancestry and where you come from, because some people can straight up metabolize fats better. Some people straight up work a lot better on veganism. Some people look super fucking healthy. They check out like whether, you know, and they're vegans, like great. Some people look like they're fucking walking corpses and they're vegans. And it just doesn't work out and they have a lot of health problems and they come off of being a vegan and all of a sudden their health drastically improves and their skin clears up like, holy shit, I never realized. You never realized cutting out like a major aspect of nutrition would have side effects potentially. But if we had an answer, okay, vegan is better, I'd do it too. If it was clean cut and clear cut and literally like, this is a fucking it. But I didn't find that personally. A lot of people don't, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work for a lot of people. And it doesn't mean that I think we have to move a little bit away from this I'm right, you're wrong, because we have a lot of different cultures, some that eat like the Eskimos that have been living off fucking like just fat whale blubber and shit for centuries. And you have other, I mean, the reason why that most people aren't vegan, I think, is because most people, why is the majority of the world not vegan naturally? I don't know. Is that just because of evolution? Is it because of culture? Is it because of both? But you would think that people would gravitate towards, healthier, just natural things that work better. But I don't know any culture. There's no culture that is just vegan, period, like naturally. But
yeah, it's hard because, like, I mean, I've seen very compelling documentaries and studies on both sides saying, and there's people who report all sorts of good stuff from just about everything that any end of the spectrum you can think of. There's some anecdote saying it's the worst thing and the best thing.
But with the internet, I think it's even harder because no matter because the internet is so matured and Google is it'll pull up so many things. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find. If you look for vegan is healthy, you'll find tons of stuff. Vegan is healthy. And one of the issues, and this is kind of an interesting segue, is because of all the politicizing of big news outlets, that even when you don't know what's real. If you see something on CNN or Fox, you're gonna be like, well, that's obviously extremely biased. But at the same time, you see all these other third-party sites and these small, like, vegan news network and this. Just because it's an off-brand or an off-site doesn't mean that information's wrong. So there's this like information overload where you can't, when you search for something, you find so much information, people get paralyzed with, well, what do I do? What's the right answer? Because everyone has the right intentions. They want to be better. They want to be healthier. They want to do things in a better way, but there's no clear-cut answer and you get a lot of like voices in your ear. So who do you trust? And that's why I say trust yourself. So doing an elimination diet and cutting a lot of these commonly inflammatory foods out and common, issues that cause sensitivities, whether it's gluten, whether, you take it out for a little bit and you test it, find out, do you like it? Oh, it works for me. It doesn't. And if that leads you towards being a vegan, then that's great. That works for you and you figured it out. But just to go and be a vegan, of course, if you just pull the plug and stop eating meat and go you're going to feel like fucking shit for a while. It's probably not going to work out too well. It's too extreme.
Yeah, I think the diet of the future is probably going to be bugs.
Ooh, bug protein. Oh, I like it.
Have you had cricket protein?
Have I had? Oh, I've heard about that. No, I haven't had cricket protein. I'm not a fucking lizard. Not a fucking lizard.
It's interesting, and I think it's going to gain traction just because, I mean, really, there's enough people to buy just about anything. But I think there was some movie that I watched or something about people existing on a train, and the people in the back of the train would like just eat like these bars made out of roaches that grew all over the train, something weird like that. But supposedly it's a really good protein. It sounds disgusting in your head, but I mean, it's something that would give you like all the nutrients that you need. And then as far as the death being humane, it's just like you just stomp on it, just a boot. It's like instantaneous. There's no pain.
So now you got the debate about sentience and like, okay, what are they having? Do they have consciousness, or do they have feelings? Are they thinking? Are they having a little Five Goes West like conversation down there? Are they like, having a little, is there a drama going on? Is it a movie that I've seen? But like what, Jiminy Cricket and stuff? No,
Did he have a name?
I think it's really what people can justify, or what they can justify for themselves. But if the protein's bioavailable and it absorbs, it kind of comes down to, what I find interesting is when you have people that throw a study out at you or say, oh, well, this interacts with this and this causes this pathway. Every human being, there's so many, like, there are thousands of mechanisms going on all the time. Just to look at a study and be like, that's the answer. It's like when you eat it, when you consume it and it goes in, like, what's it doing inside you? It really you have to take into context like everything else that you're putting in your body. But there's this whole,
I feel like,
there's a whole weird thing about you being just a hotel for bacteria, which another thing about consciousness and blows your mind is like, wow, I'm made up of all the matter that is around me. So the same stuff that's in this desk are the atoms and the molecules that make me up. Not maybe all of them, but they're all made from molecules that I have in my body. It's all different combinations. So if I have this arrangement of cells, this arrangement of compounds creates this with the beard and the glasses and these thoughts. So what's going on with these cells and this material? We're all from the same fucking place. Like, why is this a desk? And why am I a person? Is that desk thinking? And I was listening, that podcast was fucking mind blowing, bro. It was like, it's just a series of blank thoughts or something like that. It's just a series of existence, but it's not processing. Obviously, it doesn't have higher learning. I don't know, or maybe it's like Brave Little Toaster, and they're just fucking you turn off. Yeah, have fun with that, bro.
All right.
No, it's good.
That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah,
I like that.
Rob Reed. And so he's done like TED Talks. He, I think if I'm correct, he started, you remember back in like in the early web days, remember Rhapsody? Remember that, like Real Player, Rhapsody, the music?
Yeah.
Yeah, he started that. It was like Rhapsody.
Oh,
And
okay.
so he's like OG in the tech field, but he's like a really deep thinker. And it's just like the people that it brings on, it's like, oh my God, so many people are so much smarter than me. But it's amazing. I love it. I fucking love it.
Loosely related, one of our members was one of the guys. You remember Netscape?
Fuck yeah. What happened to that? They got bought, right?
I have no idea. I should ask him, but that's what his claim to fame was. He was a Netscape guy. I was like, he's like, you probably don't remember it. You're too young. I was like, no, I remember Netscape.
You should be like Alta Vista in the house.
I feel like Explorer bought them, or no, wait, was that Netscape?
I used to use Netscape and go to Ask Jeeves. That's what
Dogpile.
Dogpile. Was it Hotbot?
Hotpot.
Oh my God.
Man.
Wait, web crawler or meta crawler?
There's a bunch of millennials who have no idea what we're
No,
talking
they
about.
had no fucking idea. What's your ICQ, bro? I'll hit you up. What's your aim?
What was the ASL?
Oh, age, sex, location. That's right.
Yeah.
When you go in the chat rooms, you want to cyber. You go in there, like, someone will be like, what are you talking about? What's cybering? You're like, you have no idea.
Oh man,
like, you're getting dark as shit.
Nostalgia. Oh yeah, let me turn on the light.
Yeah, it's cool if you still got time. Or cool. It's Daddy. Look at me. What's up, fam? What's up?
Let there be light.
Let's say, oh, we got some other people dropping. Let's bring up some comments. Let's see. We got Child Prodigy, PHP, Dogpile, and that Mama search engine. What's the Mama one? Mama search? What do you remember from Google's Rob Reed? Yeah, it's a good podcast. Those AOL CDs. Oh, they got busted. The AOL CDs. Remember they had like a lawsuit against them because they were like spamming.
Or just mailing everybody.
All those CDs. Oh.
I thought, and I was back then. I thought the CDs were so expensive. I was like, how can they afford to do this?
Yeah.
I was like keeping them. There's a value. There's some kind of like attributed value to them. I was like, I gotta hoard these CDs that I'm getting.
What's crazy is when you think about how big AOL was and how they just lost everything. Like, I wonder what the turning point was between that company being the fucking just the megalith of is that even a word, megalith of the internet, and then all of a sudden, it sounds right, and then all of a sudden just being, oh, we're a news network, and just disappear. I read somewhere, and you can all Google this, that they still collect, I think it's like 20 million a month or 80 million a month, something absurd. on subscriptions that were never canceled. Like they still collect money because AOL is free. You can get AOL mail, but if you don't cancel, that they never.
Must have been from like a bank account because you would have got new cards by then.
No, but like $9.99, whatever it was,
Well,
$9.99 or
AC
14,
patience.
yeah, $14.95 or this, because people that had AOL keep that email still to this day. So people
Yeah.
just forget the fact that, oh, it's free now, and they just always been paying, so they don't cancel it. So anyone that's listening, if you have an AOL subscription, you don't need it anymore. But yeah, it's something like 20 or 40 or 50 or something $1 million a month just from old subscriptions that were never canceled. I don't even know how that happens, because don't you get new credit cards and shit? And like, I need to make sure my AOL account is still up to date or something like that.
Or like I said, it was like they had it on the routing and checking number, and
Right.
they haven't switched the bank.
That's true. I mean, how often do you switch a bank? Some people have it for their entire life. And that's what PayPal, that's why PayPal is like so good, is because it, you don't have to worry about an account, like your card going out and then fucking shit. Anyway, so it gets deep. A lot of people always ask about, LimeWire and FrostWire. Oh God, Napster and all that shit.
Kazaa.
What was that?
Kazaa. That was another one of those.
That sounds familiar.
LimeWire typey deals.
What are some, because we always talk about, like, just you and I, we talk about philosophy a lot and podcasts. What are some things that you're listening to, or good books, or things that, because a lot of these things that we talk about with consistency and all the quotes, I mean, these are all thoughts that are regurgitated from people that are much smarter than us and that have thought these things before. Words are just rearranged and, I guess, resourced and recycled. So what are some things that I guess you've pulled up, or that you're kind of digging into now, that you really like, that can provide some value to
I
our peeps?
I just pulled it up because I wanted to get his name the right way. This dude is, I forget who he is, and a lot of people are probably going to be like, "Oh, you didn't know who he was?" Naval. Naval is his first name, and he's like really big time famous. Come on, why can't I find it? But he's got these short little podcasts. They're like 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
It's Ravikant.
Yeah, Ravikant. Yeah, just
Naval Ravikant. Yeah,
just came up.
A lot of people actually probably know who he is because of when he was on Joe Rogan. But what you're gonna like is
that's what it was.
The podcast that I told you about with Rob Reed. He was on, I believe it was 2 episodes back to back about enders, about the synthetic biology and people that are. And the whole end game and how civilization will come to an end. I think he's the one that doesn't think it's going to go more than like another 100, 200 years. That it's like impossible.
What was his name?
What
was his name?
The last name?
Yeah.
Ravikant.
No. The guy you were talking about.
Rob Reed?
Rob Reed.
The podcast after on, you'll see it.
Oh,
no, but I'm saying he was on like 2 of his episodes, like back to back. It was like an extended edition.
But you were saying it was a Joe Rogan podcast. My mistake.
No, well, he was on that one too. I'm saying people probably have heard of his name because he was on that whatever recent episode. But those podcasts were crazy because they were talking about like the synthetic biology and creating weaponized, like in your room. And it's just like, oh fuck, like you listen to it and you're thinking, how are we going to make it? But I guess we've made it thus far. I don't know.
Yeah, but we've also never had these abilities before. I constantly say that we're Rome at its crescendo, and the downfall is coming any day. We just have too much stuff. The life is too awesome. Like we were good like a couple years ago. We could have like just leveled out and like no more technological inventions. Like we could have just stopped, but we didn't. We kept on innovating. And with every good thing, there's some bad stuff. And we were good at Bluetooth, and now we're getting like scary level. And the Dark Mirror version. You watch Dark Mirror?
Is it Dark Mirror or is it Black Mirror?
Black Mirror. Sorry.
No, I don't. I barely watch anything. I've heard Joe Rogan talk about it and this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I need that in my brain.
It's worth it just because you see it's kind of. I mean, I'm sure you have the premise. It's kind of like a
Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
I've heard of it. It sounds great, but I'm like,
it's all tech. It's all tech, and you see these people with their phones, and you see social media, and you're just like, that's 100% the way it's going to be. Like, give us 5 years, and that's life.
Think about Star Trek and shit, and how, or all those other shows where you would just have someone pop up on a screen and you'd be talking to them. It's like, well, what the fuck is what is this? What's Skype, right?
It's like 1984, which was written in 1948, and they had flat screen TVs in everyone's apartment, and now we've got flat screen TVs.
Because people try to have something that Yeah, it's like we're predicting it. Sci-fi. That's why a lot of these top thinkers and these scientists, they'll say that they read a lot of sci-fi, because sci-fi is really the prediction of the future. Because when you're writing a book, or these people are brilliant writing these books, that they observe human nature and human interaction, and just
They've got to be good anthropologists to be able to see ahead of the curve,
see the
because it's
trends.
stuff that you see it and you're like, that makes complete sense. We would totally do that. I would just, who thinks of that?
Yeah,
You know?
it's crazy. But yeah, flat screen TVs. I mean, I guess we don't have teleportation, but even
Not yet.
what's crazy, what's crazy is if you go back 100 years, we barely had cars. That's it.
Yeah, I think
World War One was just ending.
I think the first flight to the first rocket into space was like 30 or 40 years, something like
Was
ridiculous.
that Sputnik or
You
something?
know,
Wasn't that Sputnik, or the first, like, that was the first thing to the moon, or to, I
and I
forget.
think the Wright brothers were like 1911 or
I think it
something
was I
like
think it
that.
was '09 or something like that. Yeah.
1909.
I just looked this
So
up. I just looked this up like the other day for whatever reason. We're having the same conversation.
imagine like the same person reading like, man has achieved flight, and then like that same person read in a newspaper where you're like going to the moon. That's crazy. Humans are nuts.
Yeah, and we just haven't gone back. I guess space travel just kind of lost
It's like
interest.
Moore's law. It accelerates because it's all tech based now. Now
Hmm.
we're in the tech phase, so we have this crazy these crazy tools that we can leverage to this ability that we never had before, and it makes us crazy efficient at making ourselves more efficient.
Yeah, everything's multiplying hardcore, and that's kind of what has been interesting, because I've never plugged into tech so much as when I started doing Swolenormous, and I started doing this stuff like in 2016. But just because I'm so deep in it, I see all the fast changes, just from video production, from streaming, from advertising, just for everything. I'm like, oh my God, it's so different. Every time I load up some of these editors, like in Facebook and behind the scenes, it's every time I load it up, there's something different. I'm like, fuck, they're doing that now. Fuck, they're doing that now. And it's just, it never ends. It's just constant updating, which is cool. But at the same time, I don't know. I think this is actually one of those periods in time where you have to think, do I really want to bring other people into this world? Do I want to have kids? Do I want to, I guess you could always have that worry, that fear, or that concern. But it seems like now the world is kind of almost hitting, it's wherever that breaking point is. And I don't know. It's coming.
Yeah,
It's coming. And maybe.
it's exciting and terrifying. As far as like that constant, I got another good quote for you from Alvin Toffler or something, and it's, the illiterate man of the 21st century is not the man who cannot read or write. It is the man who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn.
I have that on the wall too. Yeah, that's a good one.
Constant evolution of everything, the way, even just it's the exposure that you're seeing in social media, and how the trends of what to do where, and now longer videos, and now like it's in our attention, and what's grabbing our attention, and what's working. Like as a culture, this was working, and now we're all immune to it. So now you have to completely revamp your marketing approach, or the way you reach out to somebody. Like you don't call people now. It's, people don't want it to, the mass majority of people, especially younger people, don't want to get on the phone. I know I sure don't. So now it's going to text and chat bots and things like that. And and then along with all that comes all the much darker stuff like we were talking about before, but it's fun and exciting, isn't it? This is such a uplifting podcast.
No, it's cool, but I mean, it's the reality of things. But it kind of comes back to what we were discussing even before.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
We have an honor to be living at this time. We have it better than, especially in this country, we have it better than anybody else on our timeline.
Yep.
If we see it all burn, we've had a pretty good run so far, and we'd have the honor of seeing it all burn. People have been saying it's coming down forever, literally since they understood time. They're like, it's got to end. We're going to watch it end. This comet's coming. It's ending. Like we're still here. We might be the ones who get to see it.
That's true. I mean, all the new research that shows that we're not the most advanced civilization, that 12,000 years ago we had an entire, like, all this advanced shit.
What did we do with
it?
it?
What do we, well, whatever ended it for us, whatever the fucking comet and catastrophic. I think there is some kind of comfort in knowing that if it ends with a comet, like it's going to fucking end. Like it's over. You're not going to have to think about it. It's not like, oh, you're going to starve. Like you're going to be fucking like, it's going to be over. So
I'm a nihilist and a Buddhist. So a lot of times I'm just like, hit the gas, get your foot off the brake, and let's see what happens.
I think we are doing that. We don't really have control over it. We just have to hope that the people that have that's the thing. The people that have the control have, I mean, I think that's the one thing that's probably saved human civilization to this point is people's desire to not die. Like, you know, self-preservation. So like ingrained in us is survival. So if we have survival at our deepest core, well, it might not be a good idea for me to shoot a rocket there if they're going to shoot a rocket back and it's going to risk my death. So, not a good move. And I don't know, there's a lot of different ways than just the nuclear, but just like when you start thinking about space and you start looking at the history of things, it can get pretty mind-blowing.
But like back to this analogy, it's not going to take like somebody who's got the awareness of like, oh, if I have this, there's a repercussion. It could be someone who doesn't care about the repercussion, like a suicide bomber, but with, Ebola on steroids.
Yeah.
Airborne Ebola on steroids,
That's the thing with the synthetic biology is that it could be someone in their fucking classroom that just is a sociopath.
And eventually it'll be easy. Just go do it. Go to Heathrow.
That's why I'm like, I think I'm like, I like these four walls. I can communicate with everyone here. I don't need to go outside. It's going to start like, Amazon delivers it to me, and I'm going to start scanning my packages, scan them for like viruses on them.
My fiance has a Tesla, and I didn't know this, but they have a hermetic filter or something in case there's like biological. Isn't that creepy? That's in a Tesla.
Well, that's because Elon's a fatalist. That's because he thinks he's like, oh no, we're going to die. Like we're done.
If you notice, everything that he puts his effort into is not towards helping humanity survive. He's not like trying to make water projects happen or try to like make more food.
We're going to Mars, bitch. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's like, we got to get out of here. And like, while we're here, like we're going to grow. So let's dig some tunnels and like drive underneath. And like, it's all just to deal with overpopulation and then to get out. Nothing's like trying to save people. He's like, there's enough people. Like someone else is trying to do the water project. I'll try to get us out of here.
I mean, luckily we have people like that are actually capable of getting shit done.
He's getting the rowboat. Someone else is trying to bail water on that Titanic, and he's like, yeah, you bail the water. You stay over there. Good. I'm going to get the boats. You keep doing that.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I mean, it's awesome the fact that we have the ability to do all these things. But what also blows my mind is if you actually, I think that's what's great about, for example, I think we talked about Hardcore History, right? The podcast, the history podcast. I mean, it's phenomenal. So if you want to learn about history, you can listen to that podcast, and it's amazing. And when you look at history, and even from back when you're in school, and you look, okay, the Roman Empire, this reign went from here. This Chinese emperor went from XYZ BC to 200 BC, and you look, it's like, oh, it's 300 years, it's 500 years. The Roman Empire lasted this. I'm like, shit. I mean, the United States has been, 200? Like, it's like, things have never lasted forever, ever. They've never lasted forever, ever. So it's literally a countdown because this ain't going forever either, the way we see it. And I don't know. It's just, it could keep on going with all the things that we distract ourselves with. So I almost feel like the internet and all the different information and how much information, it's really overload. I rarely watch Netflix or any kind of shows. It's usually something that I'm familiar with, or
there's too much stuff.
I'll watch an episode. That's why I haven't gotten Black Mirror. I see a new thing. Okay, cool. I'll watch maybe a comedy thing because it's like, okay, done. I'll watch a movie. It's like done, but I don't see all the new movies. I don't watch the Marvel things because they're all fucking the same. Things come out, they go. There's too much things. I have too much shit to do.
Yeah.
I know you're the same way where you maximize your time. You go into the sauna. I listen to a podcast, or you're listening while you're doing it. Like I just can't necessarily get to reading a book even on my Kindle just because it's easier. I'll just put it in my fucking ears. And I like podcasts because you don't listen to someone droning about a book, because even books are just half of it's or more, most of it's like fluff. So you do that kind of like speed reading where you have like 10 books. You open it up like, oh, the top 5 things. Cool. Look at the chapter titles. Done. Next book. You get the idea. It's like, cool. I don't need to read 500 pages about this one topic. You can kind of go down those rabbit holes, and the podcasts are great to get like the highlights, like a highlight reel, and you learn more. What are your thoughts about just, I guess, we'll probably be wrapping this up soon anyway, but with education, I think what's most interesting about people that are kind of stuck with getting started with fitness or nutrition or anything, getting oversaturated with information. I think that getting oversaturated with information is an excuse because we're not taught how to learn. We're taught to just spit back answers, like multiple choice. We're taught to be like, oh, this is right, this is wrong. Oh, shoot, you get a bad grade. We're not taught to like actually, like once we graduate, it's kind of like, hey, most people don't read a fucking book after they graduate school because they fucking learned all this shit that was useless. They hated it, and they don't read for entertainment. They don't absorb information. So podcasts and stuff and Audible and those things have helped people come back to learning. But when you learn how to learn, you also learn how to pick out bullshit really fucking quick. You learn how to pick up, biased information and opinions and separate that from the truth and actually, put information together and put pieces of the puzzle together. But people don't learn how to do that anymore. They just want to have an answer. And it's like, well, they don't know how to search through all the information. There's a lot of stuff on Google. You can find everything. But how do they actually, extrapolate things from that big mess? And people just never learned how to do that to begin with.
Well, I'm a high school dropout. My mom was a teacher for 40 years. And here's my perspective. I think that the traditional education system now is, like you said, it's teaching you, it's based on memorization, and now we're in an age of problem solving or searching for the answer and being able to do. Now it's going to get to finding facts within the bullshit. That's the next evolution of education, and it's going to be hard. And the education system has never had to change like this before, because before this day and age, memorization was what you had to do. Now we don't need memorization. I don't need calculus anymore. So now we have to change what we're teaching kids. Unfortunately, we're still teaching them calculus when they don't need it. It's going to be cool to see it evolve more to like selective, like what you and I do. We don't have degrees or anything, but we go specifically for what we need to learn.
I got a degree,
and then
bro.
we can go
Don't take away my education.
I mean, I'm sorry, you got a master's, don't you?
No, don't fluff my pillow.
Oh, never mind.
Now you're trying to, now you're overcompensating.
I meant we didn't have degrees in what we're in. You said, like, as far as you studying deep into the production of this show.
Okay, so I'm not a sound engineer, is what you mean.
I didn't go to business school. I'm not a chef or anything like that.
I get you. I'm just fucking with you.
No, that's what I meant.
But I'm also clarifying for people that maybe are listening for the first time, like, oh shit. No, but I did study
science, right?
Yeah, I did study, exercise science, but at the same time, what am I doing now? Like, I'm doing fitness and stuff, but it's also 20 years of it's also continuing education. It's experience. Like I'm just applying this, but all the stuff that I'm doing, and I always tell people, go look at my earlier YouTube videos, go check out those things, go check out my earlier podcast, completely different thing. I didn't know a damn fucking thing, but it's the ability to learn. And literally what I did was I went on Google and I looked up like, oh, how to get better sound. Oh, that's an audio interface. I've never heard of that. Oh, this microphone, how come it doesn't sound like this? How do I get it to do that? So I Googled it. Oh, I need one of those, or I do this. Oh, cool. Let me download that app. Oh, what's this over here? And I just literally acquired equipment, but the knowledge to understand what I need to do what I do. And every time
it wasn't fed, you were taught, you were able to hunt.
Google.
The school system is feeding you information in a textbook that you just read, memorize, and regurgitate.
Yeah.
The other problem is, I think, when you train specifically for a goal, whether it's in life or whatever else, you get in the habit of just going for a goal. It gives you an idea that it's done. So when people finish their education, whether it's high school or even graduate degree, a lot of people just stop. Like my fiance, I know in her field, she says there's a lot of people. She's got her doctorate, and there's a lot of people who stop at that level, and that's all they learn. And they'll do whatever it is to just, keep their license fresh and maybe some continuing education on that, but they don't go out and find other skill sets or anything. She also is entrepreneurial. She's got her own store online. So she's learning all this other stuff on the side, expanding her basis. And that's what I think people are going to start gravitating to once we get used to the idea that, wait, there's way more information out there than it is within these walls.
Yeah.
And I can learn exactly what I want, not have to sit through a lecture. Like, I want to learn how to start producing a show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to learn that in college right now. You know, it's going to be out there.
It's scary when I think back to all that time I just spent listening to a human being tell me something. And it scares the shit out of me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy that I came out of that alive, so to speak. Because a lot of people are just dead. They're just drones walking through life. And literally someone taught you something, told you with bias from something that they learned from someone else. I mean,
was
of course,
filtered out to what they could fit in the book
and what they're allowed to say in a school
semester.
so they don't get fired. And especially nowadays, now you can't say jack shit. You can't say jack shit. You can't even tell someone to leave. Like, you told me to leave because I'm black. It's like, oh, because you're a fucking asshole. Get the fuck out of my class. You can't say that anymore because it'll be all over Twitter, and then CNN will be showing up at your fucking front door and you'll be fired. And so people are like tiptoeing. And that's why another thing is like, that's why I don't tiptoe around shit, because it's scary. You have to plant your foot and make your voice known and be able to voice your opinions without someone firing you. Like, how are people getting fired from having an opinion or even saying something that's factual that someone else doesn't like? It's like, ooh, that's true, but I don't like that, so you're fired. It's like, the fuck? It's crazy. It's crazy. We have this like a big cultural shift because all of a sudden we had all these borders and countries, but when you go online, it's one big world and there's no separation. There's no walls. So all of a sudden we have this conflict of, we have this online universal culture, and then we have this individual laws and individual cultures, and there's a huge clash with all that shit. And it's kind of interesting when you step back and look at it, but when you're in the middle of it, it's a fucking hot mess.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've got a pretty interesting perspective, because you're right. I mean, there's not a group or anything that I can think of that I'm a part of online or anything like that that I feel like is a tribe. And not only are you in one, you're at the nucleus of it. So like, you probably, I mean, your perspective on it's probably something worth hearing.
I mean, I'm sensitive to it just because I see what's trending. I kind of sense like the vibes, but it's so much different. What I've been thinking about more is a lot of the stuff that I talk about when it comes to like fat acceptance and body positivity and all this, extreme leftist, all these things that come up in the news and on social media. But in my daily life, like when I go out to this, I don't see signs. I don't see people talking about it. No one, at least in my area, are concerning themselves with it mostly. It's really all this digital push. So it's like we have two different cultures. We have this online culture of people. Yeah. We have this online culture of people saying shit that they can't get away with saying in person to someone. And they're gathering tribes online versus your real life where this stuff doesn't even exist. So you get some people that say, well, you're making a big deal of this. This isn't that big, this isn't happening, but it's having real world consequences. So there's this like blurring between, oh, this only happens online, but it's like, no, it's not. If you're telling someone that it's okay to be obese, they're in real life going to the doctor, and they're in real life getting diabetic medication. They're in real life dying. So it's interesting how, I guess, you could find support groups everywhere, but that can also, people blur the line between what's, I guess, healthy and safe online and how that translates into their real life. So there's a lot of demonization. I guess we can, shift to this other topic of social media. Like, do you think it's more of a net positive or a negative in terms of all the technology, the streaming, the internet, video games? What's your, I guess, general outlook on that?
I think it's too early to tell.
It's a smart answer.
I'd like to think it's a net positive. Like, I could argue the fact that it's a net positive right now, but it also might be the instrument by which someone's radicalized and creates that Ebola virus that we were talking about. So, and they learn to do it through the internet, so it's too early to tell, but right now I think it's a net positive thing, because it's getting discussions out there that people wouldn't be comfortable having in their real life. It's even letting them express opinions, maybe not opinions that we'd necessarily care to hear, but they're getting out there, and it's something that's creating a dialogue. Because when some asshole says some dumb shit or some racist shit, it creates a dialogue, and it brings more awareness, and it brings more information out there, and brings it more to the awareness of someone who's not necessarily affected by it directly or whatever. So there's good and bad. And then like the argument with the that you were arguing, or I forget the girl's name, but with the overweight, big is beautiful kind of thing like that, and how it's literally something that it could be risky to somebody. That seems like a very negative thing. I don't know what positive can come out of it. So that would definitely be a takeaway for it, or a takeaway from that positive impact. But maybe it's at least a zero sum at this point.
I would agree. It's too early to tell because we're right in the mire, so to speak. What's interesting is the fact that everything is growing in popularity, it seems. It's not one thing or one thing's overwhelming. It's everything, because the internet just multiplied every single group and following. Like, think about veganism, for example, and plant-based. Like, that's literally because of social media. It's not because of the real... I mean, it is, but it would have happened a lot slower. Like, that movement maybe wouldn't have gotten started. Vegans were always like, oh, you're a hippie vegan. With technology, you can just hashtag something, and you find people that have a lot of crossover with what you believe in or what you think. And there's this rise, like rising tides raise all ships. Like, everyone is going every different direction. So you just hear more about everything. And because you can search, because these companies control the search, which is another conversation altogether. Like, that's a whole other fucking rabbit hole. What's really biased is who's showing you when you're searching for something, what they want to show you. Like Google, they're showing you stuff based on X, Y, and Z, but they can literally show you certain things that they want to show you based on what you're searching. You might not be finding all the stuff. And then, what we see on the internet is like the top 1% of the internet, and all the dark web or deep stuff. That's all then you have all the other layers of the internet. Like, we only use like 1% or something, or 10% of the internet, like that we see with apps and searches and stuff. A lot of the internet's just underneath the surface. And of course, you go deeper and deeper, you get all the illegal shit, but the dark web. And watch those videos. Like, I watch those videos on YouTube when people are like, oh shit, I fucked up and this is what I saw. And it's like, even if that's half real, it's scary shit.
I haven't ventured onto it. I got to figure that out. I feel like I'm right on the.
Don't figure that out. Don't go.
Don't go to the dark
Don't
web.
go. What is it, like those torrent sites, or those BitTor, or the Tor browser?
I want to buy a crack cocaine. Just one crack cocaine, please, sir.
One crack. One crack.
Can I have one crack?
You got one crack.
I think the solution is eventually going to be, and it's weird. Like, from our perspective, it might seem like a negative thing, and then enough time in the future, it seems like the best thing to happen, or whatever. There's an interesting story. I think it's a Buddhist story, but it's like there's a farmer, and his one night there's a storm, and the lightning scares the horse. The horse jumps and runs away, and the neighbors are like, "Oh man, how unfortunate." And the farmer's like, "We shall see." And then the horse comes back the next day, and it brings two other horses with it. And then the neighbors are like, "Man, how fortunate." And the farmer says, "We shall see." And then the farmer's son's riding the horse, gets kicked off the horse, breaks his leg. And the neighbors are like, "Man, how unfortunate." I'm giving you the faster version. And he says, "We shall see." Then the king's military comes to town and says, "We're recruiting every able-bodied person within this age." And his son doesn't have to do that because his leg's broken. And they say, "How fortunate." And he says, "We shall see." So it's like, from our perspective, we don't really know. I think that there's eventually a solution will be full transparency, because that's also going to solve all this stuff that we see with politicians and everything. When we have it's going to sound creepy, but it's going to be like a big brother. Gary Vee was talking about how we're going to have like just these bubbles floating above us that are just going to record everything 360 degrees our entire lives at all time. And we'll be able to see, your grandparent, your grandmother, like in her infancy, because it'll be just like everything's going to be recorded at all times. We'll have full transparency. We'll be able to see what the bullshit is. When you put up a bullshit site with some bullshit information, it'll be linked back to you as a person. It's not going to be like some stuff that clickbait stuff that you could just peddle. So it'll have like a social score on you that'll be devalued. Like you could see this, like if you saw Black Mirror or whatever, there's like a social score that everybody had in one of the episodes, and it's basically like your credit, but it's based on how many likes you get and everything else like that. But where you can live and how much you pay and like who invites you to their wedding is based on this social score and how many likes you're getting. And not only that, but also like the value of who's liking you. So if you have higher status people liking you, those likes are worth more. And there's these whole consultants that you go to talk about how you can get your like thing. It's like, but you see that. Yeah. And I'm sure you see that.
Well, yeah.
We're getting into another rabbit hole.
No, well, Instagram actually removed likes. They did it in Canada. They're still doing it, where you can see on your own post, but on other people's posts, you can't see how many people like the post. And I don't know if you noticed these little, because Facebook is
good, because the kids that are growing up with this, man, it's got to be warping them.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook. I mean, a lot of people don't know, but since Facebook owns Instagram, but they were playing around with different features. So Facebook has always done this. So I'm sure they run Instagram the same way, where they do updates and tests all the time. Like they'll have people that 10,000 people will see this new update, and then another 10,000, they segment their test to see what people react. And then before they release something globally, it's a smart way to network and to try things out. So just so everyone knows, like every time there's these little, Facebook's going out so much, they're making updates, they're testing something, they're integrating. It's not an accident. They're not getting hacked. If Facebook goes down, it's for a reason. That's why it comes right back up, because they're taking it down so they can integrate new code and shit like that. Anyway, so
and the CIA is putting something else in it.
Yeah, right. So on Instagram, they did this. I don't know if you noticed the profile change, or at least I got it, where they took like your followers and stuff and they made it smaller at the bottom of the profile. And they did that for like a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden I load up my phone. I'm like, why does my Instagram look different? They put it back up. So like people didn't like it. The people were, all this street credibility or this, and they put like the check mark in a different place and the name. And I'm sure people got, there's negative feedback. I'm like, they're never going to take away the likes. They're not going to roll that out, because people are going to get furious, because how do I know? How do I know? Mm-hmm. How can I show people how popular I am? All you would get is just people screenshotting their own shit and posting it in their stories to show people how many likes they got and all this stuff. But it's a weird thing. And I think because we are, how old are you again?
35 this November.
So I'm going to be 36 in like a couple weeks. And I think I'm really glad that I remember when there was only answering machines. I remember when there were beepers. I never had a beeper, but I remember them existing and what they did. And you'd have to like send a certain number and you would, write little text thing. But I remember that. And I remember not having a computer, and I remember having Nintendo, and that was a cool thing, but I remember not having it. So we have this context of not being super connected, but people that are just growing up with it, it's completely normal. And that's it's kind of like that old, grandparents, like, kids these days, they don't know what it's like. They don't know real hardships. They had to actually go somewhere and hope someone shows up, and they couldn't just text. But it's just, I don't know. It's not really, it's hard to separate when it's just, okay, something's new. So it's scary. It was better back when it was before this. Like something familiar always seems safe. Human beings we're designed on an evolutionary level. We have evolved. We're here today because we understand fear. We've evolved today because we know how to be safe. We know how to move away from a tiger, from a bear, how to go up in a tree, how to protect ourselves from the weather. Like we've survived based on safety. So safety and comfort is something we're attracted to. So we end up there's a good and bad. We get stuck in safety, we get stuck in comfort. And then we also, look back to something. It's like an old relationship. When you're out of that relationship for a while and nothing's going well, you think back like, oh man, I should have stayed with this person, or I remember how good it was. But when you were there, it sucked. And you remember, like you forget the bad parts and you remember back to something like it's like a danger that that you're familiar with versus the unknown, known versus unknown. So it's like
nostalgia is a liar that tells us the past is better than it was. That's another quote. I don't know who did it though,
but someone that knew their shit.
Yeah. And people are afraid to change, but yeah, you're right. The comfort is.
I don't know, man. I literally ordered. I needed more dish soap, so I literally ordered that on Amazon, and it's going to come tomorrow. I don't know if
through like the button thing. Did you ever get one of those buttons?
No, fuck that shit. No,
they're getting rid of them. They decided that wasn't.
It didn't work because now that since they have the buy now feature, they just eliminated the need for it. And
Yeah.
and with I don't want to say it too loud because she's listening, but Alexa, she just orders it again, or you can have it on. So they change it to subscription. Oh, she turned on Alexa off. I can mute this bitch. Yeah.
Schmishmeksha.
People are like, I'm not putting one of those government listening devices in my room. It's like, oh my God, they know everything you're doing already, bro. If you have a phone, you're on the grid
Yeah, I was about to
hardcore.
say, it's
No, you're
like,
on a fucking phone. You're tracked. Everyone. That's a,
here's the thing.
yeah.
We're gonna see before. Okay, Skynet is coming, but we can enjoy it until it's here. Okay. So like, just go with it because it's coming and it's
What are
gonna
you
be.
going to do?
It's gonna
Like,
be.
what are you going to do about it anyway?
Yeah, the AI is coming and it's gonna be faster and smarter than us, and we'll just be slaves like the Matrix or something. I don't know, but like right now we can play Angry Bird on our phones from the toilet.
Who plays Angry Bird anymore, bro? That's so
I don't know,
2007.
I can't think of any other games.
That's so
I don't
2000.
play
That's
games
so
like that.
2008, bro.
I don't think people can't play games now. Isn't that sick? We just go to social media probably. I used to have games on my old phones. I just tank game.
You have an
Social
you have an
media.
Android, so you're a weird person though.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have one of those? Do you have Apple has it where it has the screen time? It tells you what apps you use the most. I'm sure there's apps you could download for Android.
Yeah, I've got a productivity one
Right.
that tells me how much I use Instagram.
It's different for me though because I use it for business. So if I'm on
That's
Instagram
my
for a few
excuse.
hours, I don't try to use it as an excuse. But actually, that's an
No, I
interesting
mean
thing.
my explanation, I should say.
Yeah,
Not
yeah. But it's interesting because one of the things, and I think a lot of people I've talked about this. I have Swolenormous is not me. Like I don't have a an Instagram with my name. I don't do anything personally on social media. I don't. I just don't. It's not something that I ever wanted to really do. I connect with as many people as I want, but I think that's why I can psychologically separate from it because it's Swolenormous. It's Papa Swolio. It's off to the side. It's something that's not me as an individual. So if I put it down, I'm like, cool, I can be me now. And it's not like,
interesting.
I mean, it's not like I'm not me now, but psychologically, I compartmentalize my social media usage and I'm on it all the fucking time. However, I'm not on it for me. I'm on it for the business. I'm on it for this. When I make a video, I do it in my head. I do it as this person, even though it might be me, but it's like a different context of me. And just in my brain, that's how I separate the things. So I can put my phone down and not freak out. But when you look at the screen time, I'm like, wow, I spent like a day on YouTube this week. It's like, fuck. But at the same time, is the app running in the background? Was I uploading a video and doing tags? It's like, I don't use it for social purposes, but I get this a lot. I get a lot of people asking me about other content. Like, hey, what do you think about this person? What do you think about this person? As much as I make content about people and as much as I do this, I don't follow anyone. I don't follow anyone on Instagram. I don't want to see anyone's shit. I don't want to see your baby. I don't want to see your dog. I don't want to see what you ate. I don't give a fuck where you went on vacation. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I don't give a shit what you're doing. I'm so busy with my own stuff. I don't care what you're doing. I don't follow anyone. You're not providing me any value. You are one of the few people that I actually text and talk to. Like literally, I have maybe a hand of people that I actually will use my time with. Maybe like that's it.
I'm proud to be on that hand.
Yeah, dude. Well, yeah, that can go a couple different ways. No, but I don't set time aside from like the last time we talked for like 3 hours. That wasn't for a podcast, but I don't get value from anyone. Or I don't really look to get value. I don't know. I'm not a consumer in that sense because I'm focused on my stuff, which is a different approach. But I think that's because I just don't use social media for personal reasons.
Yeah, I would say that almost all my engagement with people is like business in the office, or that's it. Other than that, it's my fiance and I. We both have our own projects, so that's cool. She allows me to be a workaholic at the office or here because she's normally working as well. So we both keep busy, and I don't see my friends. I have this, the guys' night. We've been doing that. I have a monthly guys' night where we'd meet up at the office, and we went to a couple of them. You're welcome to join us. Now we play a very addictive board game called Catan. And there's like a lot of
you were the king twice.
negotiating.
I saw that on your profile. You were the king twice or some shit.
So that's my social life. But aside from that, I don't. And those are friends from high school, and it's cool to get together once a month and do that. But aside from that, I don't go out, man. I work and
It's one.
don't really.
It's once a month.
I'm like you,
I thought
man.
it was once a week, or that changed.
No, it was once a month. It was the second Tuesday of the month, because we'd say see you next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, cunt. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to get back in on that. When's
What, cunt?
Yeah, I want to get back in on the cunt. What is that in
Yeah.
2? That's in 3. All right, I'll get back on it because
Oh, now it's more sporadic. Like we're
Yeah.
doing Monday. Now it's like whenever, because everyone's got crazy schedules. So now it's like whenever we can get at least 4 people.
All right, let me know because I'm always down for a win.
Oh, it's Monday or Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, I think it's Monday.
I'm always down for a victory. Always down for a W. I won I won darts over the weekend, so I was pretty dominant with darts. But I can add Catan to my list of victories.
Darts, bowling, and pool are the 3 things I get better at. The more pictures I put in myself, I get some skill with those 3 sports.
That's what was fun with darts. I've never actually played I guess the type of game. I always thought it was like a points game, but there's like all these different games. I never knew.
Cricket, something I think they call it, or something.
Yeah, it was
right?
like you have to get 15, 16, 17. Oh, it was fucking, dude, it was great. I never played darts like that. And I'm like, oh, that's such a different way to, I always thought it was, okay, you get this, you get 10 points. This is a 30. It's like, no, it's so much more fun to do it that way.
Yeah.
It's so much more casual. Like I try to hit like, fuck. And plus it makes it more dynamic. You're not just always trying to get the bullseye. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you just go for the bullseye, it's like missing it. If you pick them by points, it's just like random, Or I guess you do it by the rings. Never mind. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know. But the cricket one was, yeah, you double, single. Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those of you that are just tuning in now, we've been rocking for a while, and a lot of you probably know Casey from an earlier podcast. But we're gonna be doing. This is not the last one. We're gonna have to go deep off the rails on this shit again. But why don't we wrap this up and let's in closing, for those of you that aren't aware of who he is and where they can find you, where would you send people that want to learn more about? For anyone that's listening to the half end of this podcast, are like, shit, what the fuck? Who is this fucking guy? What does he do? Where can they find you? Where can they find your content? Because I'm hungry and I gotta piss. But
yeah,
aside from that, I know we can literally talk for like 5 hours. We'll just have to do another podcast. But where can they find you, bro?
Fitfoodfresh.com. And then from there, you'd be able to find the social media and all that other stuff. I definitely want you to check out our Instagram, because you'll see a lot of behind the scenes. I feel like it's a good way to get to know the guys. If you're in the Boca area, we love people who come by. You can check out our amazingly clean office, our super funny staff, and super fun environment too.
Yeah, for sure.
Kitchen's clean. The office is fun.
Nice. So I'm going to add this too. I'll add that to the description on YouTube and everyone else. So again,
if you're doing that, then Fit Food Fresh Tastic is the Instagram. You have to add Tastic to it because someone somewhere else
had Fit Food Fresh.
It's like it's somewhere in like the Middle East. It's like Arabic writing. I'm just like, man, they got Fit Food Fresh out there.
Someone locked it down. They just probably locked it down so you could buy it.
Yeah,
someone's gonna have Fit Food Fresh.
No, they're active in it. I think it's a restaurant or something.
Oh yeah.
Can't read it, but it looks like a restaurant, I believe.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll put that in the post description, and yeah, people can go and find your shit if they're looking. If you're in the South Florida area, it's definitely the place to be.
You should do a show from. Well, I know you don't like going mobile, but if you ever wanted to, I'll coax you over with food. Do it at the office.
Well, we can, because I used to not, because I had a problem multi-streaming. And then I tried it over actually this past week with my laptop, and it still had kind of like, it's all about the internet speed. But then I found another way to do it, so it'll work. We can probably rock that out. So I'll bring the recorders and shit, and we can hammer it out. But that'd be fantastic, bro. Looking forward to it. So what in closing, I guess, what would you have any quote or something you would say in closing that would maybe inspire someone, or something that you think of on a regular basis that keeps you focused? Because you and I both, we put a lot of time, and you're always doing videos in the fucking middle of the night from your work. And of course I do this from the Swole hole, so I don't necessarily have to go somewhere, but you're there at all hours. I'm doing this at all hours, and it's not consistent. It's up late, early mornings, vice versa. Sometimes you're up all night just because something has to get done. And if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. How do you stay focused, and how do you keep on like laying one brick at a time, even when shit's not going your way?
I remember, I remember the honest thing that I do, and I do this like working out too, is like I got two of them. One, just suck that dick. When you come up with something that you don't want, like when you gotta lift heavy, you just gotta suck that dick.
Suck that dick.
And sometimes I'll say it audibly, and when I'm in the gym saying it to myself, someone who's within earshot might be a little bit questioning as to what I'm talking about, but it's like just something you don't want to do, but you got to do it, and it's in between you and what you want. Just
some people like to suck dick though. That might be like, sweet.
Yeah, it doesn't work for them.
It doesn't work for them. So whatever you don't like to put in your mouth, do that.
Well, then in the Fire Academy, the other one that I was thinking that's more politically correct is just one more step. Yeah. I remember when we would do a hose pull.
Oh God!
And it's 3 lengths of hose, fully charged. It's stiff, it's heavy, and it's just that's what she said. And you just one more step, just push forward. It's hot. You're on air. You can't breathe. It's just one more step. That's all you need to do. You don't have to do the whole distance. You just need to do one more step. So that's the thing. I just have one more step, just one more brick in the wall, and that's all you got to focus on. You focus on the other ones.
I love it, man. I love it, man. That's perfect. Fucking love it. Well, thanks so much for being here, man. I mean, you could stay on the line for a second. I'll just wrap this up, but thank you so much for being here, bro. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy too, but it's always great to catch up.
Oh, this is the most socialized thing I've done in a while.
I know, for sure, man. All right. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Loving it.
All right, fam. Thank you so much for joining. Remember, you can find this podcast. I'll get this uploaded tonight. So any questions, make sure you hit me up. Remember, you can find Casey at FitFoodFreshtastic on Instagram and fitfoodfresh.com. So that's one of the top rated meal companies in the country, let alone definitely in Florida. So if you are in the South Florida area, make sure you look him up and his team and send him a message if you have any questions about anything that they do there. And of course, he'll be back on the podcast again soon. Got some more guests coming up this week, so stay tuned for that. And of course, Sunday, we have the Sunday Fun Day Q&A. So if you are, if you're down with that if you're down with that brown eye, trust me, I got your back. So make sure that you tune in for that and turn your post notifications. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to turn on post notifications, hit that bell, and you can follow my Instagram and Instagram stories is where I'll give you the latest and the greatest of showtimes and things that are updates and when the podcast may not be on Instagram. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, you enjoy the length, you enjoy the off topic and the fucking rabbit holes, I personally love it. So I honestly don't really give a shit if you don't like it, because I'm still going to do it, but I'm always looking for your feedback, and I like to know if you're picking up what I'm putting down. So I'll see you next time. We'll see you tomorrow for episode 1170 of the Most Muscular Swolecast, Beercast, Broadcast, Gangcast, Mancast, Pimpcast, Sleevescast, and Slaycast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex. We all flex our biceps. Peace, McGee's fam. Deuce Magoose, ya boy, Papa Swolio. Out.
That was fun.